week ago, two great rivals met. They battled each other. They battled the elements. Havoc ensued.
The sixth turnover for the Eskimos.
Sometimes all it takes to make a bad situation better is with a little bit of magic.
He just pulled a rabbit out of the hat.
Calgary, Edmonton. What's next?
Ricky Ray and the Edmonton Eskimos at home. Their home opener against the Calgary Stampeders. Ricky hasn't had a whole lot of luck against the Stamps lately. Just 1-3 in their last 4 starts. Looking to change that tonight on Wendy's CFL Live. Hi, everybody. Dave Randorf along with all the guys, and it's Calgary-Edmonton Part 2. The last time these two teams met a week ago, there was a little hockey game going on, Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final, which took a little of the focus away from the Eskimos. And Schultze, that was not necessarily a bad thing because it was a sloppy start for the defending champs.
That's right.
Ricky Ray himself passed for pretty well 400 yards and lost. Why?
Well, you know, Dave, I'll tell you, if I'm Danny Machocha, I still am going into this game with a little Mona Lisa smile on my face because I know if my team just has a better game in terms of ball security, I'm going to win. 7 times in the Calgary game previously, they had the ball taken away or they gave it away 7 times. Final score of that game was only 24-14, and 7 of those points were Henry Burr's magic at the 2-minute mark. So if my team can just protect the ball a little bit better, I am going to win. It's so important because last year when Edmonton won the takeaway giveaway, they were 7-0. So they protect that football, I think Edmonton can win.
Schultze, I'm going to this game with a little smile on my face.
Yes.
Because I get to watch my favorite position on the field. And what is that?
Linebackers.
Linebackers. And I'm going to pay attention to Brian Clark, Scott Coe, John Grace, and Khalif Abdullah. I'm going to tell you, Coe got it done last week. He had, look at those stats. He had 4 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, and the most important play of the game, in my opinion, a pick. And it was late in the game when Edmonton had a chance to come back and possibly go up. They've been dinking and dunking all night long. Brian Clark is right here. And just watch the depth he gets. Now, Ray's been dinking and dunking. He's 33 or 44 for 393. Well, Clark baits him into this ball, gets the biggest play in my opinion. Scott Coe cleans up on the receiver. Jock, it happened to you all the time. You know, your pick would go the other way, and then another linebacker come and take you out. I'm going to be watching those guys with excitement tonight because they can flat out make it happen and make Ricky Ray's night miserable.
I hate it when that happens.
I hate it.
There's no reason to do that. The play's going the other way, and they're hitting you just for the sake of it. Yeah, and those guys, they love their violence, and that's why Calgary does love them. Now, for Edmonton, they're going to be relying on their defensive secondary. You know, this group last year gave up the fewest pass completions in the league, and they were up to their old tricks last week. Even when Burris could find a guy, hey, balls were getting knocked out. But you know what? This is what we saw more often than not. Burris back in the puck, looking, not finding, looking. This is because Edmonton is playing sensational defense in the secondary. They've got 2 guys missing from the defensive halfback position from last year. Brady's been cut, Garrett's been moved to linebacker, and yet they are still dominant. They only gave up 18 pass completions to Burris and the Stamps. Look for that to be a challenge again for Calgary tonight.
Well, Ricky Ray, 393 yards passing. Henry Burris just 198, but it was those 2 late touchdowns by the Stamps that ultimately got it done. Here's the Boston Pizza CFL poll question for tonight. Log on to tsn.ca, and it relates to quarterbacks. Who's going to lead the league in passing this season? Calvillo, Moss, Ray, Burris, or Dickinson? The results at the half. Time now to introduce you to the starting quarterbacks for this football game, brought to you by Wendy's. Do Wendy's, do what tastes right. And same 2 guys we showed you last week. Henry Burris, those are the numbers. Ricky Ray, 40,000 expected tonight at Commonwealth. Mary Hall of Calgary, you could win a 50-inch Prima Plasma TV if a kickoff is returned for a touchdown in tonight's game, thanks to Safeway's Touchdown to Win. And if a second kickoff is taken back, you win $1 million. To Edmonton, here's Chris Cuthbert and Leif Pedersen.
Enjoy tonight's game.
Thank you, David. Good evening, everybody. It's the home opener for the defending Grey Cup champion Edmonton Eskimos as the Battle of Alberta moves north after a comeback win a week ago by the Calgary Stampeders. What a glorious night here in Edmonton. 25 degrees and a gentle breeze out of the southwest at 17 kilometers an hour. There's Tom Higgins. His Stampeders looking for their first back-to-back sweep of an opponent in 5 years. Well, Danny Machocha wants his team to get back to basics and feels getting back to Commonwealth might be the tonic for what ails his team after an opening game loss.
Yeah, turnovers hurt the Edmonton Eskimos more than anything, so if they can stop that on home turf, that'll go a long way in helping them try to get their record to 500 early in this season.
There's J.R. Ruffin along with Cedric Williams dropping deep to accept the opening kickoff, and the Eskimos pulling out some stops before the game. We had Warren Moon and Brian Kelly, two of the legends, out for the coin toss, and then a salute to the Western Conference champion Edmonton Oilers. But now let's play some football. And it will be J.R. Ruffin from his 10. They fake the reverse. And Ruffin finds some room outside. And Fleming got a hand on him. He's forced out at the 45, and a flag flies late after a 33-yard return. And Henry Burris, who saved the best for last, some dramatics in the last 5 minutes last week, leads the offense out.
Well, Joffrey Reynolds, again, starting at tailback, had 153 yards on the ground, a super effort for him. Terrific receiving core. Elijah Thurman, of course, coming over as a free agent from the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Offensive line up front, Godfrey Ellis gets the start, a 10th round pick from Acadia last year in 2005, and the Stampeders already terrific field position to begin this opening drive based on that return and penalty.
Rough play, Edmonton the call, and the ball is spotted at the Eskimo 52. So Burris with great field position to start this game. The sole running back, the man that chewed up the Eskimo defense a week ago. And look at this start for Joffrey Reynolds. A first down carry off the left side for 12. And he ran for 153 last week.
And he made it look easy last week, as he did on this opening play of the first quarter. And this is the defense that Joffrey Reynolds will be running against. And you know they need to buckle up their chin straps a little tighter to stop that run this week. Shannon Garrett, of course, this year moved to the linebacking spot. Jock Climby talked about. And secondary with some young players. Craver, veteran Malcolm Frank on the other corner.
Back to Reynolds. And this time, 3 tough yards. Steve Charbonneau in on the tackle for Joffrey Reynolds. His performance last week, the 3rd best in his brief CFL career, and the 6th time he's hit the 100-yard mark.
Well, I mean, he had a terrific year last year. Only Charles Roberts ran for more yards than Joffrey Reynolds, and of course starts well this year, as he always would hope to. And they certainly again want to establish him tonight. 2nd and 6. Burris backpedals, now looks downfield, and unable to hook up with Nick Lewis. Reggie Durden in coverage. Well, this is what Henry Burris did last week, quarter by quarter, really insignificant numbers until late as in the 4th quarter, as Chris just mentioned, where he got hot in the last minute and a half, a couple of touchdowns, one to Nick Lewis and one to Jermaine Copeland to pull out the win. But, you know, 18 of 33, I don't think is something that he was overly proud of. Henry with the reputation of being a slow starter. Here's DeAngelis in to attempt a field goal to get Calgary on the board early. From 43 yards out, he was 3 for 4 a week ago and nails that one. Sandro DeAngelis, the sophomore Calgary kicker, puts the Stamps on the board first.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the CFL. Do Wendy's, do what tastes right. By Rona, proud league-wide sponsor of the CFL. And by Rogers Wireless. Rogers brings you 2006 FIFA World Cup video highlights on the latest MP3 phones.
So a couple of the elements that gave Calgary the win last week, Edmonton penalties and Joffrey Reynolds on the ground, produced the opening field goal of the game. And now Tony Tompkins, the return man, met immediately. Wes Cates is in. Cates, the replacement for the injured David Allen at running back, and good downfield coverage on that kickoff.
Well, if you looked at the stats after last week's game, you'd say, well, how did Edmonton lose? I mean, Ricky Ray, 33 of 44, a couple of touchdowns, but they weren't able to make the big plays in the fourth quarter. A terrific receiving core. Mookie Mitchell, touchdown last week. Ed Hervey, 9 catches. And for all intents and purposes, an offensive line that gave Ricky Ray enough protection for him to have won that game had they made so many mistakes.
The 399 yards, the most Rays had against Calgary in 9 starts. Here's Jason Tucker underneath, brought down quickly by John Grace, who had 9 tackles last Saturday.
Well, Brian Clark exactly talked about that, and this is what this Calgary defense is going to try to do, keep the receivers underneath them. And up front, Demetrius Maxey had a sack, good game a week ago. Sean Coe rushes the passer as well as any outside linebacker. It's a young secondary, but very aggressive, and what they want to do is not give up the big play. Let Ricky Ray have big numbers, but not big touchdown completions.
So no changes from a week ago on defense for Calgary. Here's Troy Davis breaking a tackle and spinning across the 45, still going. They wanted to get the ball in the hands of Davis more this week after just 8 carries and 50 yards last Saturday.
Well, Chris, and that's funny. You and I talked before the game. You know, what does Edmonton need to do to come out here on the home crowd and really take control of this game? We both agreed that Troy Davis has to touch the ball on the ground more than 8 times. And right there, Brian Clark, who's usually so reliable at the linebacking spot, misses the initial tackle, and then spin after spin, and Troy Davis gets the Edmonton Eskimos out almost to midfield. But if he can have 20 carries, I think they got a great chance.
18 for Troy Davis, who had 100 in the Western Semi against Calgary. It's a first down, and Ricky Ray looked long. No one home, and he's brought down. Ray sacked on the play, and it looks like Demetrius Maxey, who had a quarterback sack last week, and that will be career sack number 65 for D-Max.
Well, that's not the offensive line's problem that time, because Ricky Ray had plenty of time to throw, just super coverage downfield, drop 8 deep, and you see he's ready, plenty of time, but now the fun starts, and Maxey gets the really the free sack there, but that wasn't the offensive line's problem.
So a loss of 3, 2nd and 13. Ray rolling and dumps it off. Here's Troy Davis, who was more effective last week as a receiver. Short gain here. He had 7 catches for 75 a week ago at McMahon.
And if Calgary continues to rush 4 and drop 8 like they did and keep the receivers in front of them, Troy Davis may catch a lot more than he caught those 7 passes last week, because that's what Calgary's saying. Hey, Ricky, in the first quarter at least, we're not going to let you go over the top. We're going to make you throw underneath.
That's the dinking and dunking that Mr. Dunnigan was talking about.
Well, I think that's the way to play Ricky Ray. You try to frustrate him. Interesting, Sean Fleming's going to punt. Old Rodney Williams had a tough week last week in his debut as a punter with Edmonton. And I agree with bringing Fleming back as the punter. Heck, he's over 41 yards career. Why not?
Kenyon Rambo in as a returner, and he covers that one out of bounds. A great 42-yard angle punt by Sean Fleming as we join Jermaine Franklin.
Guys, it's the tale of 2 weekends weather-wise. Last week, the game was delayed 45 minutes between these 2 teams because of an electrical storm and extremely wet conditions. But talking to the Stamps players, they're relieved the wetness happened last week and not this week here on this turf, as it does get very slick on the natural grass surface. Now, talking to Jermaine Copeland, he said he couldn't ask for better weather, but he did have one small complaint. The field is a bit chewed up from the Churchill Cup rugby that happened last week.
Well, there's always some grumbling by the visitors on this carpet, natural surface, and here's Reynolds stuffed behind the line of scrimmage. Malcolm Frank moved up from the cornerback position, and Reynolds stopped for a loss of 1.
It's interesting talking about the turf this week. I think one of the greatest fears for players these days is to wear the long cleat. I believe 7/8 of an inch is the longest you can wear, and I doubt that you're going to see too many of the guys wearing those. And compound that for Calgary, they have a grass practice field, but it rained so much in Calgary this week, they really didn't get to practice on it. So, hey, I don't care what anybody says. To me, it's an advantage for Edmonton when other teams come in here and play on this natural surface, because I know guys are terrified to wear long, long cleats.
Got an injured Stampeder, Jeff Pilon, getting attention. And we will take a timeout. We're early. First quarter, 3-0 Stampeders.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you by General Motors of Canada and all its divisions. And by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet.
Jeff Pilon off under his own power. The right tackle goes to the sidelines, and Tyler Lynham, a third-year man out of the University of Calgary, comes in to line up alongside Taylor Robertson, the right guard who was named Lineman of the Week in Week 1. Burris surveys 2nd and 11 underneath Joffrey Reynolds. Stewart couldn't bring him down, and away goes Joffrey Reynolds up near midfield across the 50, and finally tackled there by Keyu Craver. 39 yards, Burris to Reynolds.
Well, Quincy Stewart had a great opportunity to make the play. Here he is right here. He looks this way, and then he's got to come back that way to try to take on Joffrey Reynolds. And we talked to Dan Kepley before the game. We said, Kep, what was wrong with the defense last week? He said, we couldn't make any tackles. And already early in this game, a great example of that and a huge play for the Stamps.
He did say Quincy Stewart was not one of the guilty parties, but he was there. And this time, Reynolds isn't going anywhere. Gerald Dixon, who takes over for the injured Stephen Marsh with the tackle on Reynolds.
You know, it's interesting, Chris. Both these coaches, Danny Machocha and Tom Higgins, they talk about field position so much, and that's how they game plan. That's how they conduct themselves throughout the game, is to try to establish field position. And already on one play, of course, Henry Burris now, he's got himself out of trouble. He can open up the entire offense, but there's nobody that knows about field position more than these two coaches and are more concerned about it.
2nd and 11. Burris rolling as an open man in the flat, but one hops the pass to Jermaine Copeland.
Well, and that's the throw he's got to make, because he's rolling to his right as a right-handed quarterback. No pressure in his face. And, you know, Henry Burris, when I talked to him yesterday, was critical of himself last week in that game. He said, you know, it was like our 3rd preseason game. It sure wasn't regular season form for our offense, and that was a pretty rusty throw right there. Maybe he hasn't been getting a lot of sleep. He's got a 2-month-old son, Armand, that he and his wife Nicole had back in April, and I said, well, this is good to get on the road trip and get some sleep.
How about Randy Chevrier, the long snapper, a broken thumb. He's got the big cast, and yet an automatic snap to Burke Dales, and now Tony Tompkins. Tompkins trying to get outside, and I think he's got there, and then stumbled and is caught from behind by Trey Young. Oh, that looked dangerous, but it's just a 6-yard Tompkins return. Back in Edmonton, where Ricky Ray goes to work, Daryl Mitchell breaks a tackle on a swing pass from Ricky Ray. And Mitchell should have a first down for the Eskimos. And good eye there, Leaf. It was just a shoestring tackle by Wes Lysak that tripped up Tony Tompkins when it looked like he was going.
Did they have the wall set up? Last play here to Mookie Mitchell, and this is really a good play on first down for them. The receivers out front, Richard Alston and Jason Tucker getting some blocks, but I love that call on first down, especially if Calgary's going to play soft with their linebackers in secondary. That's a great first down play.
Mitchell with 9, so it's 2nd and 1. And the fullback, Mike Maurer, with the carry.
You know, if Calgary continues to play defense soft like they are, I think you're going to see the wide receiver screens to Ed Hervey and Tucker, and the swings like that to Mookie Mitchell, maybe a swing or a screen to Troy Davis, because those are the types of first down plays that if Denny Crehan is going to dictate what you're going to do, those are the plays that usually give you good positive first down yardage.
Crehan awaiting this measurement.
You know, I think all in all, he was happy last week with Ricky Ray completing 33 balls and only getting 14 points out of it. Now, they did shoot themselves in the foot a number of times. However, that's still a pretty good effort by your defense.
For Danny Machocha, it was a lot of the same from last year when the Eskimos seemed to move the ball a great deal, but not capitalize with scores. And again, the rushing woes reappeared last week with just 50 yards, which in fact was less than their average of a year ago when they were last in the league. And they are going here on 3rd and just less than a yard. 3 men in the backfield behind Ray. And now Ray with the push ahead. And we'll wait for Bud Steen to let him unpile and make the spot.
Well, it's interesting, Chris, when these two teams meet, one thing you can count on is a lot of turnovers, just who's going to be the victim. In the West Final last year, it was the Stampeders that shot themselves in the foot. And, of course, last week, 7 turnovers by the Eskimos, 3 on downs, 3 fumbles, and 1 pick. And both teams emphatically said yesterday, the only way we can win is if we stop committing all those crazy turnovers.
Jermaine mentioned it was a miserable night to start with, but nobody using the weather as an excuse for the way they turned the ball over. Ray can't find anybody. And ducks out of bounds at about the 41-yard line. So Ricky Ray scrambling for 7. Good coverage in the Stampeder secondary.
Yeah, playing zone to the wide side of the field, just covering your areas. You know, if you stay there long enough, somebody's going to come into it, and Stampeders play it flawlessly. Nowhere for Ray to go except tuck the ball under and run himself. Now, got about 6, so not a bad first down play.
Now 48 yards away from 1,000 rushing yards in his 4-year CFL career. 2nd and 4. Ray, and he has a completion. Daryl Mitchell with the first down catch. So the 2nd reception for Mitchell on the drive after making 3 grabs last week.
Boy, and it's interesting. Ricky Ray could sense the blitz coming. John Grace is going to blitz, and so what does he do? He takes Mookie Mitchell, and hey, he's expecting man-to-man coverage, bring him across the field, and the catch is made. Joey Bose in the trail position, can't stay with him, and hey, that's just the smart execution of Ricky Ray to understand the situation. Blitz, run a crossing route, and they're famous for it.
Under 5 minutes remaining here in the first quarter. Ray in trouble and throws it away and does get it beyond the line of scrimmage. The flag comes down, however, but that ball did get over the line of scrimmage. And I think the officials will confer and pick up the cloth.
No
pressure immediately. Troy Davis just can't get outside of the blitz is coming from Trey Young from the middle safety spot all the way in. So all of a sudden, that 2 soft series on defense for Calgary, now all of a sudden, they're starting to bring a lot of people on the blitz and give Ricky Ray another look. And to me, that's the beauty of the 3-4 defense. You can bring people from all over different places, and to me, you have a little more flexibility in trying to confuse the quarterback.
2nd and 10. Eskimos. Scrambling to the right side and in the flat. No, they're ruling no catch. Mitchell was out of bounds. And it will be 3rd down.
Well, have a look here. Was Mookie Mitchell inbounds or not? There's the 1 foot. Great call by the official right on the spot.
Back foot on the white chalk before the other foot came down. So Fleming in. And Kenyon Rambo, again, the return man tonight with the injury to David Allen, who was out for 3 to 4 weeks with stretched knee ligaments. And Sean Fleming is going to tell Danny Machocha he wants his punting job back. A terrific punt, and once again, no return for the Stamps. Reminder, tune in for the 147th running of the Queen's Plate live from Woodbine in Toronto tomorrow. Coverage begins at 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific time.
You a horse racing fan?
Queen's Plate time, I am.
I am too.
Yeah, it's a great event. Can you imagine 147 runnings of the Queen's Plate?
It's Andre Summersell who's getting the start at defensive end tonight, the rush end position, and a native of Guyana, didn't play football, of course, till he moved to the U.S. And boy, they think he's on the bottom of the screen as the Russian for Edmonton. We'll see what he can do.
Flag down. Here's Copeland with the catch and lunging ahead to the 22, but it looks like this is coming back. Summersell really impressed the Eskimo brass in the early part of camp and then sprained an ankle, but they say he is lightning quick off the edge and should give opposing quarterbacks fits.
Well, now Dan Kepley likened him to James Parker.
Calgary, number 81. 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
That's pretty lofty praise. Bo Gibbs was offside.
You know, and he has the distinction of being the last player picked in the NFL draft in 2004 by the Oakland Raiders.
And we know what title that means. Apparently Mr. Irrelevant, but I'm not going to say that to his face.
That's what it says.
You would figure the Eskimos must like him because he's wearing 53. Number worn a year ago by Jim Rockford. First and 15. And a completion in the flat. And Marcus Howell with the catch. Over from the Ottawa Renegades in the dispersal draft. And it's like Howell edging out Brett Ralph for the starter's job as the Canadian wideout.
You know, I've always liked Marcus Howell. I mean, he's a very versatile player. He started at corner for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers a few years ago. I think he's got terrific hands, good technique, and I was always amazed that with the Ottawa Renegades, he did not get more playing time, but he is now in Calgary. Good for him.
8 yards on that reception, so it's 2nd and 7. 6 receivers out, and flags fly as Copeland in a battle with Reggie Durden. The ball fell incomplete. And let's find out. There's more than one flag on the play. Holding is one call, and Durden will be called for pass interference as he bumped the intended receiver, Copeland.
And there's Kelly Wilshire right here. He's coming on the safety blitz, and I'm not so sure they didn't get a handout and drag him down right there. Yes, the center, Godfrey Ellis, recognized it a little late.
Holding.
But pretty much tackled
Calgary,
him, but it's going to probably offset as Reggie Durden gets called for the interference.
Edmonton, number 5. They're offsetting 10-yard penalties.
So Godfrey
repeat
Ellis.
Down. Second down.
The holding call, the center. And Durden, the culprit for the Eskimos.
Well, interesting, both defensive coordinators, after a couple of kind of soft series, now they're saying, okay, enough of that. Let's start putting a little more pressure on these quarterbacks. Rick Campbell coming with the safety blitz that time.
So they'll do the play over in 2nd and 7 from the Calgary 17. And downfield, Copeland's got it. And Copeland, an ankle tackle there, which saved a lot of real estate by Keo Craver, but it's a big hookup for a first down of 31 yards, Burris to Copeland.
Talk about having confidence in your receiver. Great coverage by Reggie Durden here, but the ball is in the air because Henry Burris expects Copeland to go and fight for it, which he did. A little bit of a swim push-off there to get to the football undetected. However, once again, for the second time tonight, Henry Burris has been able to move his team out of a deep hole.
A smile from Copeland to Durden, of course, former teammates. How many times did they line up against each other in practice as members of the Montreal Alouettes?
Well, Chris, this is a terrific receiving core that Henry Burris has to work with. Those are the numbers from a year ago, and Elijah Thurman, of course, did those in Saskatchewan, but this is a terrific group. Now you add Marcus Howell to the group. Bo Gibbs will come in, number 81 on occasion. He's a huge target. So with the increase in rosters, it's apparent teams are using that to increase the amount of their receiving core.
There's Elijah Thurman lining up on 2nd and 6. Underneath, Joffrey Reynolds. It's a first down, Calgary. And he bulls his way to the Edmonton 45.
Well, talk about taking what the defense gives you. Both Ricky Ray and Henry Burris are having a good first quarter doing that. Edmonton chooses to drop everybody deep with 6 receivers out in the pattern. Hey, I'll just dump it off to my running back, which is a pretty good option or plan B.
Did you find back-to-back games the offense was a little better the second week?
I would think in this case it's going to be tonight. Last week was horrid. You know, it was a preseason game, and they've had a week to polish their own offense and not have to worry as much about game planning.
Well, Reynolds stopped behind the line of scrimmage that time as Charles Alston met Joffrey Reynolds in the backfield. And it's a loss of 3. Well, it is a strange schedule for the Stampeders. We mentioned they haven't won back-to-back games since 2001 against the same opponent. And look at this, 6 times.
It doesn't bode too well for this schedule then. You know, in this case, though, for Tom Higgins, even though back-to-backs aren't really what everybody likes, I think it's good this week because they haven't had to do a whole lot of game planning.
2nd and 13. Burris, a wobbly pass, may have been tipped, and it ends up incomplete behind Copeland, who continues to jaw with his old buddy Reggie Durden. Tom Higgins likes the fact that that drive dug Calgary out of a hole as it started at the Stampeders 17 and ends up on the Eskimo side of half. And now Bert Dales, second-year punter, will try and pin the Eskimos deep. Tompkins and Mitchell. There's Mookie Await. So happy were the Stampeders with their 2 kickers from their rookie campaigns. There were no other kickers brought in to compete for jobs in training camp. Mitchell stopped after a short return. We'll take a timeout. End of 1 in Edmonton. Stats of the quarter brought to you by Rona, proud league-wide sponsors of the CFL.
Well, pretty even first quarter, 3-0 for the Stampeders. I thought the defenses gave both quarterbacks enough different looks just to keep them off balance enough, but a much cleaner first quarter than you and Glenn did a week ago.
Absolutely. You notice that turnover category, 0s on both sides. That's particularly good news for the Eskimos, who were in trouble last week, but you get the feeling that both offenses are a little more comfortable.
Well, again, you know, I think the difference, Chris, is that they're preparing for the same team, and they don't really have to go through a brand new game plan to play against each other. So what they did all week was work on their fundamentals, work on their base offensive packages, and I think it's really showing here in the first quarter.
So the Stampeders, even though they did not score in the last drive, put together a number of first downs, and now the Eskimos have to start at their own 19-yard line as we begin the second quarter. Troy Davis off the right side, flagged down. Davis stopped at the 22 after a 3-yard gain. Well, Davis, the leading rusher for the Eskimos last year.
Repeat first down.
On just 4 Edmonton starts. And this one going against the Eskimos, a holding call, brings it back to the Edmonton 9.
Well, a week ago, Joffrey Reynolds obviously won that battle of the running backs, and I believe that for the Eskimos to be successful tonight, you're going to have to see Troy Davis much more involved in their game plan.
1st and 20. Draw, Davis. And the Stampeders not fooled. Davis just gets back to the line of scrimmage.
Well, Randy Chevrier, playing on the nose, really stuffed things up well early and took control of the center, Rhett McLean. There's Chevrier right in the middle of your screen. He just manhandles the center and makes the play on Davis. And all of a sudden, you know, the Calgary defense got 2nd and 20 deep in their own end. They really have a chance to control this game now.
Again, Randy playing with the broken thumb. He's one of the 300-pound poets. He and Sheldon Napastuk have a radio show in Calgary. Apparently a little poetry's involved. Here's a dump pass to Troy Davis as he looks for the first down stick and is drilled by Kobe Reinhardt, who had the Richter scale stick on Mike Maurer last week.
Whoa, that was some hit. Well, Calgary did the right thing. Drop 9 people back in coverage, make Ricky Ray force him to do what he hates to do, and that's throw underneath the coverage. And not too many times when you dump it out of the backfield, you're going to pick up on 2nd and 20. You said, you know, what did these teams do well in the first quarter? Twice, Calgary marched it out deep out of their own end really well. I mean, they didn't get points, but they sure did a great job.
There's Fleming. And Rambo crossing midfield. And Rambo met there by Marcus Wynn. A 9-yard return. Well, the Stamps in good shape here after a defensive stand. And one of the keys for Calgary is to contain Ricky Ray and not give him the big play.
I just think we take away the deep ball. You know, he's really good at throwing that, and they beat a lot of teams that way. And they like to spread the ball around and get guys open deep and get Jason Tucker going. You know, Jason's probably one of the best receivers in the league, so he's going to get his catches and he's going to get his yards. But, you know, if we can limit him a little bit and take away their other things and just give him the checkdowns, you know, we don't think they can beat us like that.
So the defense does its job, and now Henry Burris goes to work. And Burris loves the ball and dives head first, close to a first down with Singor Mobley in pursuit.
You were saying, Chris, that you had a conversation with Tom Higgins where he said he wanted Henry Burris to run a little bit more tonight, and that time I believe it was a broken play because Burris went to fake to somebody and there was nobody there, so I think he just said, hey, I better do the next best thing. Everything caved in, and he said, heck, I've got such an open field I can pick up a first down with my legs.
Henry does have that element and didn't take off last week. Moves the sticks here. And the Stamps threaten from inside Edmonton's 40-yard line. And Burris looking downfield. Elijah Thurman hadn't turned around to look for the pass as he was going man-on-man with Malcolm Frank.
You know, Danny McManus and I, who's backing up at quarterback here in Calgary for Henry Burris, had a conversation yesterday about preseason and the length of the season and all that. And I think, you know, he and I both kind of agreed that in a perfect world, it'd be great to have 3 preseason games. And one of the reasons would be like a free agent like Elijah Thurman comes over to Calgary. I mean, there was total miscommunication on that play, and maybe these two just haven't had enough time to work together yet. But, well, I agree with Danny Mac. Preseason's too short.
2nd and 10. Copeland, and Copeland's got it. Again, tight coverage from Durden, and Jermaine Copeland keeps coming up with the football.
Well, again, Henry Burris is not afraid to throw it to Jermaine Copeland, and he just works to the outside right there. He's not afraid to throw to him, even though he's tightly covered. And that's a great speed turn by Reggie Durden. See how well he closes. But Copeland works back to the football, keeping that little bit of separation, and that's a great catch and way to help your quarterback out.
Copeland over 1,200 yards last year, but he has gone 13 games without a 100-yard receiving game. Great play action. Burris into the corner. And does Rambo get down? Yes, they're ruling a completion and a first down, and a big catch by Kenyon Rambo, who had a touchdown in Calgary's last visit here at Commonwealth.
Well, I love the call by Burris. He's got trips to the wide side, and he rolls back weak, really. And if nobody comes out with him, he's got the option to run or to throw to somebody like Rambo, who does a terrific job to keep those feet in bounds. That is a heck of a catch, and those are how you keep these drives going. You make big plays like that. Good catch by Copeland. Now Kenyon Rambo with a good effort.
14 for Rambo, and now 1st and goal at the 4. Joffrey Reynolds time. Kicks it outside. Reynolds, touchdown. Powering his way in, and Joffrey Reynolds has the first major of the night. There is a flag in the end zone. Now let's see what this is about. The Eskimos signaling it's going against Calgary.
Holding. Calgary number 85. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
And it is Kenyon Rambo.
Well, penalties a week ago really hurt the Stampeders. They had 16, and there's Rambo on the outside of your screen. He's engaging with Malcolm Frank, or rather Keo Craver, and you can clearly see he grabbed a lot of jersey there to try to help his running back.
So it's 1st and goal, now back at the 14. Here's Elijah Thurman with the catch, and he's brought down at the 7. A sure tackle there by Reggie Durden.
That was a heck of a tackle in the open field by Reggie Durden. Dan Kepley, the linebacker coach, said that was their problem a week ago, missing too many tackles. They missed one early, but now that's a good effort by Reggie Durden.
You saw the production last week inside the 40. Tom Higgins particularly perturbed about the interception that Henry Burris threw deep that Gerald Dixon picked off at the goal line. The only interception tossed by Burris. 2nd and goal now at the 6. Burris going to the wide side. Rambo smothered there by 37-year-old corner Malcolm Frank. And it's just a 1-yard gain.
I'm really surprised at the play selection. Steve Barato calls a lot of the plays from the sidelines, and you know, this is tough. You're 2nd and goal down there from the 6-yard line, and just to throw the hitch, or you know, you're asking your receiver to do a lot in a goal line situation, and not too many times you're going to break the tackle there and score. When you get down there in the red zone like that, you've got to take your shot at the end zone.
So we continue to await the game's first major. DeAngelis in for his 2nd field goal attempt. And DeAngelis with an easy 12-yard chip shot has the Stampeders up by 6. Well, we mentioned off the top of the show that Warren Moon and Brian Kelly are at Commonwealth Stadium tonight, involved in the coin toss to start the game, and it's our pleasure to have Warren here with us, making the connection. It's a CFL vote this year to find out who the greatest tandem in the history of the game, and the first pairing to be unveiled, pretty good. It's going to be tough to beat. Warren Moon,
I think so,
and Brian Kelly.
Yeah, we have the honor of doing that, and we're the Edmonton Eskimos representatives. There's going to be a representative from all 9 teams, including Ottawa, as the greatest duo quarterback receiver combination over the next 8 weeks. So people will get a chance to start voting after August 18th for their best duo.
Right, we'll talk more about that competition.
Well, you know, yeah, Chris and I, before the game started, letting our minds wander. Okay, Ottawa was it Russ Jackson, Whit Tucker. Of course, we got Warren and Brian Kelly, and so it's going to be fun for the fans.
We figure Saskatchewan will be Lancaster and Pedersen.
No, I don't think so.
You never know. I mean, I'm sure everybody's going to have a lot of different guesses, and that's why you can go to the website, cfl.ca/makingtheconnection, and then you can kind of debate those things. So it should be a lot of fun for the fans to get involved in.
Well, Ricky Ray and Jason Tucker might have been a decent selection, but of course, you're dealing with legends. And here's that shuttle pass to Troy Davis up to the 40-yard line, and a big first down for the Eskimos.
Warren, we need to offer our congratulations. I got to see you firsthand. You broke my heart in the 1980 Grey Cup. I've never forgiven you for that. But
well, you know, I had to do what I had to do.
Going in the Hall of Fame, 17 great years in the NFL, that must be a thrill.
It's quite an honor for me. You know, I had the pleasure of going in the Hall of Fame up here in Canada. Now I get a chance to go in the NFL Hall of Fame, and it's going to be quite a treat for my family and my fans. And you know, Brian Kelly, the guy that's showing on the screen right now, had a lot to do with my success. He was a great receiver, and I was blessed with great receivers throughout my whole career. That had a lot to do with my success.
You had Tommy Scott, and did you play George
Smith,
McGowan?
And, I played a couple of years with George at the beginning, but mainly it was Brian Kelly, Waddell Smith, Tommy Scott, Brian Fryer, Marco Sincar. So I had a really good group of receivers.
Warren, now you're in the agent business with Lee Steinberg, and actually you had some impact in Ricky Williams coming up.
A little bit, you know. Of course, my opinion was asked because I had a lot of experience up in this league, and I thought it was a great move for Ricky to continue to play football, play with a class organization like the Argonauts, and just get a chance to be on the field. I thought it brought more exposure to the CFL, more visibility to the CFL, as well as good for Ricky.
You weren't trying to keep Damon Allen's numbers down passing-wise.
Well, that might have had a little bit to do with it, too.
It's always an honor seeing you, and you know, people across the country will be thrilled when you go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame later this summer.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, Chris, and thanks for having me on.
Warren Moon, congratulations. So the Eskimos now moving the football, and there's the newcomer to their offensive scheme, Richard Alston, with a catch out of East Carolina. He was their top receiver in the preseason with 12 catches, and draws in as Trevor Gaylor is sat down. East Carolina, school that has brought the Edmonton Eskimos Dan Kepley and Gizmo Williams, so why not go back to that school one more time? Great to chat with Warren Moon, and what a dynamic combination that was, he and Brian Kelly.
Well, it's interesting to hear the supporting cast. We had some great ones here. Tommy Scott, Waddell Smith, Marco Sinkar helped out with a Grey Cup. And
there's an Alston catch that will be negated by a holding penalty. Bud Steen brings them back.
Holding. Edmonton 61. 10-yard penalty. Repeat second down.
Glenn Carson in, and a holding call against him. We talked about Alston, a newcomer to the offensive set this week, and Pat Woodcock also in the lineup and awaiting his first catch as an Edmonton Eskimo.
yeah, Pat Woodcock, funny career. I mean, best year 2002 and Grey Cup MVP, but you know, after that he just doesn't materialize, and we haven't seen him yet tonight.
More flags as Ray looks for Tucker downfield, incomplete. Of course, Woodcock's best play ever, a 99-yard catch on this field in the 2002 Grey Cup game.
Well, yeah, he was the Canadian MVP in that game for that long catch, but
Illegal block. Hands to the face. Edmonton 61. Penalties decline. It's third down.
So back-to-back penalty calls against Carson. This one is declined as he gets up in the grill of John Grace.
yeah, I would say that's in the face pretty good there.
So it's third down, and Rambo drops deep. And it's rather quiet here at Commonwealth Stadium, as the offense has yet to get on track in high gear tonight. Rambo loses his footing as Matthew Bertrand was bearing down on him. A 50-yard Fleming punt.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you by General Motors of Canada and all its divisions, and by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet.
Alouettes winners tonight, 32-14 in Hamilton. So Montreal, the first road team to post a victory in the 2006 season. Here, the visitors have a 6-0 lead. Calgary with the football, and Burris looks downfield. Jermaine Copeland's got it, and Copeland down to the 35-yard line, having a big night, his third catch. And he's closing in on that 100-yard game already.
Well, Edmonton moved Shannon Garrett to the linebacker position from defensive back this year, and they put him out on Jermaine Copeland. And I know Shannon Garrett's a good defensive back, but I think when he's up that close to the line of scrimmage and he's going to go one-on-one with Copeland, that's a battle that Copeland's going to win. And Jermaine Copeland having a good first half, 3 catches now, 98 yards. And that's a matchup that I think Henry Burris, when he saw it, he went right to it.
Reynolds off the right side. Productive gain down to the 27-yard line. That was a 46-yard pass and run play from Burris to Copeland, who has not had a 100-yard game since last August, early August, August 6th. So he was due for a breakout night, and it looks like it's tonight.
Well, he had a breakout year in 2003 when he had over 1,700 yards receiving, led the league that year. And again, I suspect he'll get over the 100-yard mark tonight, as he's at 98 already.
Second down, that ball tipped and falls incomplete. And was that Andre Summersell that got a hand on it? Big 53 making an early impact.
And there he is from the outside. Watch Summersell. They say he's got great quickness, speed rush to the outside. It gets the hand up. That's a great play. And you know, Calgary's moved the ball effectively, but they just have not been able to get it down. They had one good opportunity to score a touchdown, but all their offense has just led to field goal attempts.
DeAngelis, 37 yards out. And the man who led the league in field goal percentage in his rookie year is sharp here. 3 straight for DeAngelis, 9-0 Stamps. TSN brings you Rogers Jays action Tuesday and Wednesday as the Washington Nationals head to Toronto. Both games start at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Also available in TSN HD. Well, the last 5 years, the defending Grey Cup champion has lost its first game of the following season. The Eskimos continued the trend a week ago. Last time they won the Grey Cup, they went 0-3 to start their defense of the Cup. And they desperately do not want to lose back-to-back to their provincial rivals to start the season.
Well, they've just put themselves in a hole on offense tonight a few times. It seems whenever they get something going, they have a penalty or something to slow them down, and they've been in a lot of second and long situations. They're in one again now. Calgary, for the most part, second and long tonight, has chosen to just lay off, and second and shorter have brought people. So don't be surprised to see 9 people again drop deep.
Second and 8. And that one almost picked off by Kobe Reinhardt, who stepped in front of the intended receiver.
Well, they drop 8 right there, and Kobe Reinhardt knows he's got help over the top against Ed Hervey. Here's Hervey here, and he's running the hook. Watch how Kobe Reinhardt steps underneath, because he knows he's got help over the top should Hervey decide to go deep. There's the help. You see it back over the top. That allows you to get in his face and play aggressive and make a play on the football, because you're not worried about the deep pass. Great defense.
Reinhardt with 61 games of NFL experience, came to the Stamps last year and has become a lockdown corner in Calgary. Rambo he found a seam, lost his helmet as he is punished. 38-yard punt, 8 on the return. Stampeders take over at their own 43. Heat on Burris. Burris gets it away and completes the pass. Nick Lewis with his first catch of the night up at the 50. As somehow Burris got away from Steve Charbonneau.
Wow, Steve Charbonneau, here he comes. He's bearing down at the last second. Burris with the duck move, and he finds Nick Lewis, and way to make a disastrous play into a positive one.
7 for Lewis. The 3-minute warning given to the benches here at Commonwealth. Wendy's at the half coming up. 3 minutes from now, 3 minutes of playing time. Dave Randorf, Chris Schultz, Matt Denigan, and Jock Climby will weigh in on what they've seen in this first half. That sees the Calgary Stampeders with the lead, with the ball, 2nd and 3. At the Stamp 50. Here comes the rush, and they get to Henry Burris. And it is Andre Summersell with his first CFL sack. Well, he comes as advertised in this first half.
Coming from the top of your screen, here comes Summersell late, and just that little delay when you're bringing so many people. He just had a direct line to Henry Burris, and he didn't miss this time. Steve Charbonneau missed a couple of plays ago, but not Summersell here. Gets full congratulations, 6'2", 227. Great speed, as you can see on that play, and he gets the sack.
Nothing irrelevant about his contribution to the Eskimo defense.
Mr. Irrelevant, that's the last player taken in the NFL draft. That's a nasty handle, isn't it?
Apparently they have a big celebration in at Newport Beach or somewhere in California, and he's the toast of the weekend there.
Wow.
So that's, I guess, one consolation prize, but it doesn't help you make the NFL squad. He looks like he may have found a home here. And now there's a penalty being assessed against the Stampeders.
Time count violation. Calgary number 16.
Well, it didn't look like they were short a player, so that's just a mental error to giving up yardage there. And, you know, you and I were talking at the break, you know, kind of what's wrong with Edmonton tonight. I mean, they've been just kind of flat here in this first half, but, you know, sometimes a big play will excite a team, and if that sack by Andre Summersell didn't, then they're really in trouble tonight.
What about a Tony Tompkins return? He said early in the season you've got a better chance of getting a big one. Tries to get outside, but great coverage downfield. And Kobe Reinhardt there again to bring Tompkins down.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet, and by General Motors of Canada and all its divisions.
Terrific punt by Burke Dales, 53 yards. 3 on the return, and Ricky Ray has 2:09 on the clock to put a dent on that scoreboard. That shows the Stamps up 9-zip.
I think Ricky Ray's really played into the hands of the Stampeder defense in this first half, Chris. I think his first down play selection just hasn't been really very good. I mean, it's no mystery what Calgary's doing on first down. They're dropping off, so you've got to go underneath, make them come up and tackle.
Pass for Hervey on the sidelines, incomplete. Hervey, the prime target last week when he made 9 catches for 116 yards.
Well, there he is at the top of your screen, and you know, right choice, zone defense, lots of room to the outside. The defensive halfback did not get underneath it because he fell down. An easy call for the officials, well out of bounds. Boy, Ed Hervey last year, funny year, no TD catches during the regular season, and yet finally got one in the Grey Cup game.
That 116 yards was tops among all receivers in the CFL in week 1. Ray rolls and pulls it down. See if that stumble costs him. He lunges to the 41. He had to get to the 43, and even a generous spot is not going to give him a first down. Did he get close enough to have Danny Machocha think about a third down gamble? He'll measure, and he'll get a better survey on what is needed on third down.
So this is a pretty big decision here. They struggled early on a 2nd and short to pick up the first down. I mean, I suspect that they'll go for it here, but
it's a full yard. And now the Stamps defense will try and dig in and get another turnover on downs as they did a week ago.
3 times. Well, last time on third down in the first quarter, Ricky Ray took the ball himself. So if I'm John Grace and Brian Clark, boy, I just tee off at number 15.
Ray pushes ahead behind center Rhett McLean and Comiskey, and a good surge from that offensive line.
Well, it used to be that the centers on teams were the most undersized offensive linemen, but not anymore. Ricky Ray follows Rhett McLean, 6'3", 304. Centers used to be around 2.5. Now they're over 300 pounds, and a good choice for Ricky Ray. You saw John Grace do exactly what I thought he would. There's number 7, tries to go helmet to helmet, but misses.
To correct myself, I see Tim Baker has now moved to center with Carson at right guard. And a completion to Jason Tucker, first down into Calgary territory, as Rhett McLean, who started at center, is on the sidelines for the Eskimos, so they have tweaked their offensive line.
Lots of time for Ricky Ray here. 1:30 left to go. He's moved it across into Calgary territory, and here's where he's got to be smart. Read the defense, and, you know, again, it's so easy to say, but take what they give you. If they're going to rush or drop off, take what they give.
It's screen inside, and Hervey, and Brian Clark pulls him down at the Calgary 47-yard line. And the Stamps felt there was a pick thrown to try and spring Ed Hervey loose.
Well, the inside man, Jason Tucker, he's trying to get a block. I mean, there you see it right in the middle of your screen. That's a quick screen to the wide receiver. That is not a pick play, a design pick play. Tucker just got there as the ball was caught, and Calgary might have had a complaint.
Gain of 6 for Hervey. Flag down, and Ray conferring with Danny Machocha on what the next play should be. Let's find out if apparently there is
Calgary is challenging that the ball was fumbled on the play.
There's a challenge.
I didn't see the fumble.
Ball did come loose. Brian Clark brought him down. And so Bud Steen comes over to have a look.
Well, let's go back and have a look at the entire play. All right.
And there's Clark.
That's a tough angle for us to have a definitive look at it. Probably going to get a better look from the end zone here. Brian Clark tries to strip the ball loose.
And yes, that ball is coming out before Ed Hervey goes down. And, you know, the Eskimos, Jermaine Chapman up with the ball. And the Eskimos mentioned that Calgary was really tackling to strip the football last week. And it was Brian Clark with a couple of forced fumbles and a fumble recovery last week. And it looks like this Tom Higgins challenge
I think
might be successful.
This is a pretty good look from our end zone camera, and you clearly see the ball coming out right there. And
Chapman quick to get on it. So again, the replay challenge, the officials have up to 90 seconds. I mentioned last night that a couple of the officials have gone longer than 90, but in fairness to them, it has been explained that on a couple of occasions, the audio hookup with upstairs was not activated properly, and so we started the clock before the officials actually were hooked up.
well, I think Bud Steen certainly had a good angle to see that one from, and he is finished. He's going to tell us his decision, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Calgary Stampeders get the football. And if so, a good challenge by Tom Higgins.
After review, the pass was completed before the Edmonton ball carrier was tackled. The ball came loose. It's a fumble. Calgary recovered the ball. It's first down, Calgary.
And you see a rare display of emotion from Tom Higgins. Fired up because Calgary comes up with a big fumble recovery at 1:19 to go first half.
Yeah, that's enormous for him.
That's demonstrative.
That's exuberant. He's got this little smirk going still too there, I think.
So
good play by Brian Clark.
Has done it again. That's the third forced fumble in 2 weeks for Clark.
And 1:19 to go for Henry Burris. Lots of time. Spread everything out.
They take over on their own 47. In the flat, a completion. And Marcus Howell has his second catch of the night.
Number 88, Marcus Howell, taking down by number 28.
Oh, Burris running the hurry-up offense. He's very, very good at it. He's got a real calm, cool head when he's working the clock late in the half or late in the game.
7 yards for Howell, 2nd and 3. The shotgun, Kelly Wiltshire, safety blitz. The screen pass, and Copeland underneath. Got one hand on it. Couldn't bring it in.
Well, Kelly Wiltshire really tipped his hand early on the safety blitz, and that was Henry Burris' indication that he was going to get 1-on-1 all across the board. 6 receivers out in the pattern, and he just didn't make a very, very good throw. There you see Wiltshire coming right up the middle. Okay, I've read it. I know I got to get rid of it. And that ball was just thrown off his back foot, and Copeland couldn't make the catch. But the opportunity clearly was there.
Wiltshire, the Eskimo safety, who had 2 interceptions of Burris passes in the Western semifinal last November. So Burke Dale's on to punt the ball away. Angling it to Mitchell inside his 10. Ricky High steps out to the 25-yard line with 53 seconds remaining in this opening half. A 48-yard punt by Burke Dales, who is hoofing the football in this opening half.
Well, and again, Ricky Ray getting the football back rather quickly after that turnover, and lots of time for him with 53 seconds to go to try to break this goose egg here in the first half.
In the last 6 regular season games, Ricky Ray with just 1 touchdown pass. It was last week on a pass to Matthew Bertrand out of the backfield. Randy Chevrier, the injured Calgary Stampeder. And again, we showed you earlier the big cast on his thumb. Not sure if that's the problem. And while Randy gets to his feet, we'll remind you that Wendy's CFL action on TSN continues. Tomorrow evening, we'll be at Mosaic Stadium at Taylor Field.
How's that name? I saw that this morning, and I kind of went, okay, good deal for the Rough Riders. Jim Hobson, the president, making a nice deal there for some cash flow. I think something like 10-year, $3.5 million deal. So, a little cash flow, but Mosaic Field, I don't know.
BC Lions looking so impressive. You saw them in Vancouver last week.
You're get a little traveling this weekend. 3 games, 3 days.
Yes, if all the connections work out, yes. Ricky Ray back to work. Davis out of the backfield, and Reinhardt with a stick on the Eskimo running back and a short gain.
This is the frustrating part for Ricky Ray. We're really gonna get a taste tonight of how patient he can be and when he's going to break out of that. I mean, you heard a clip earlier from Brian Clark saying, hey, we just want to keep everything in front of us. We don't want to give them easy plays. His longest completion tonight's only been 14 yards, and that's not very Ricky Ray-ish, but, we'll see how patient he can be, because that's not a lot of fun for him throwing underneath all night long.
Only 2 plays over 30 yards last week, 35 the longest pass. And over the middle, a completion close to a first down for Daryl Mitchell. And that spot just shy of the 35, and he had to get across the 35, I believe, to move the chains. 41 seconds remaining.
Well, no reason to think that Danny Machocha won't go again. I mean, he's gambled twice in this game when he's been a yard or less.
3rd and inches again. Baker, the center. Pushing ahead. Not much, but should move the chains.
Quarterback sneak for Ricky Ray, and that's a first down.
Well, again, Ray with 399 yards last week, 75% completion percentage, and yet all they had to really show for it, a 1 touchdown pass to Bertrand and 14 points in the game. So like most of the second half of last year, most of the yardage churned up between the 30s. Ray rolling to that far side. There's Alston wrapped up by Khalid Abdullah, who was impressive in his CFL debut last Saturday. Abdullah, a couple of tackles and 4 special team tackles.
Of course, I know you and Glenn talked about it last week. The younger brother of Raheem Abdullah, the fine defensive end.
Second down, Ray. And he finds Andrew Nowacki a catch up at the 49, his first reception of the game. Ray wants to call a timeout with 11 seconds to go. And they're going to need, well, about 15 yards to put it in Sean Fleming field goal range.
Great situational defense in this entire first half by the Calgary Stampeders. I mean, they haven't made any mistakes. Denny Crehan has said, hey, Ricky Ray, if you're going to complete balls, they're going to be of the short variety, and we're going to come up, and we've just got to play good hard-nosed football and make the tackles, and that's exactly what they've done. They've turned this into a reasonably boring first half for the Eskimos, but I'm sure it's exactly as Denny Crehan envisioned it would be.
Longest for Sean Fleming last year was 48 yards. He'd have to move it 19.
Watch the draw.
To get it into a Fleming 48-yard attempt. And bring it back this way on the misdirection to Jason Tucker. He's surrounded and finally down, and they lose yards back at the 43, and that play ran out the clock in the opening half. And the home crowd here at Commonwealth Stadium not impressed with the opening half of football from the defending Grey Cup champions. They trail after 30 minutes, 9-0 as we send it to Dave Randor.
Thanks very much, Chris. Yeah, they are, what have you done for me lately crowd at Commonwealth. You know that as well as anybody. They are expecting a little bit more out of their Eskimos, just like last week. A very slow first half. All the fireworks happened in the second half. Hopefully that'll be the same situation tonight. All of these guys are going to weigh in on what they saw in the first half. We've got highlights from this afternoon's game in Hamilton. All that and more. You're watching Wendy's CFL on TSN.
Live at the half, brought to you by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the CFL. Do Wendy's, do what tastes right.
Here's a look at the Boston Pizza CFL poll question we asked you earlier tonight. We asked who will lead the league in passing yards this season. You said 36% of you said Dave Dickinson will barely beat out Anthony Calvillo. Interesting. Jason Moss, not off to a great start in Hamilton, pulling up the rear along with Henry Burris. Ricky Ray picking up 18% of the votes, and right now he is once again, surprise, surprise, struggling against the Calgary Stampeders. What is it, Matt, about these Stamps? Remember when Ricky Ray came into the league? You made the observation several times that this guy has got a very accurate deep ball. We haven't seen it for ages, and we certainly haven't seen it against the Stamps.
And Calgary certainly understands that better than anybody. You know, the foe down the road, they know how to best defend your offensive weapons, and Ricky Ray does throw an accurate deep ball. But the Calgary Stampeders, as Brian Clark and Leaf Patterson have alluded to, are not going to allow him to do that. They're going to make him dink and dunk, and that's all that is there for Ricky Ray. That's why he's got the high completion percentage last week at 75%. This week, it's just shovel passes, dumping down on second and long, and then some slip screens. And on this slip screen, Brian Clark, he's up to his old tricks again. The third forced fumble of the year already for Brian Clark. Just flying to the football. Coe's in the mix, Grace is in the mix, Clark's in the mix, and he's making it happen. Turnover, Calgary Stampeders. Great game plan once again by the Stampeder defense to make Ricky Ray do things he's not comfortable with, Jock, and that's just dumping the football down.
Well, 14 yards is the longest completion. 13 for 18, but not a very exciting 13 completion.
The Bluebirds are out.
Yeah, well, I want to see him go deep as well, Matty. Now, the one guy I am watching on the Calgary side of the football, well, a matchup I'm watching is Copeland and Durden. And these guys played together in Montreal. I've always thought the advantage goes to the receiver when he knows a defensive back. First of all, he knows here's a swim move coming right here. He knows this works on Durden because he's taller than him. He's got about 4 inches on him. So he uses it once. Hey, why use it once if you can use it a second time? And here he's got his hand on his back, and he's just going to swim him by. And lots of DBs will complain about this. Hey, if Glenn Suter was here, he'd be just all upset. But, hey, as a receiver, that's just a good little swim through to get the guy going down the field. I love to see that. Copeland's always worked well with his hands. Now, Schultze, I know you worked well with your hands, too, when you were a big offensive lineman. You want to talk receivers for some reason?
I want to talk receivers.
Are you okay?
I'm just fine. That attention to detail, baby. That attention to detail makes a big difference. Some great wide receiver play that has really supported Henry Burris. Has he had a great game? No, he has had an average game, but he seems to be improving. But I want you to watch this play and how much confidence Henry gains by Kenyon Rambo making that type of catch. Now watch the difficulty of this. Jock illustrated technique for a receiver. Watch the footwork and the handwork on the sidelines. Folks, you got to split your mind in half. Half of it will be on your hand and half it'll be on your feet. That is one of the most difficult catches to make for a receiver. Henry looks like he's playing a little bit better in this game, better than last game for sure, no doubt about it. But the key thing to this, it's only 9-0. This game is still totally up for grabs.
Rambo split his mind in half when he took that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, no, I really do know what you mean.
Taking an Never mind.
You have the Schultzeisms. We kind of know what you mean. We always end up getting the point. But he took that holding penalty that took the touchdown off the board.
Right.
Therefore, we got no touchdowns really to talk about, which Edmonton added a late touchdown a week ago to make it close, in fact, to take a lead on the Calgary Stampeders, but not so much tonight. And maybe they need to bring this guy out of the booth and this guy, if they can get him on the line. I think they could help. Earlier Earlier today, you got the Alouettes and the Ticats. Anthony Calvillo, Matt, 9 straight games with over 300 yards passing against Hamilton, his old team. Didn't look great last week with just 200 yards, but check this out. Kerry Watkins, 24 yards. Major thank you.
He's a winner, Dave. Just flat-out winner. Finds a way to get her done.
Jason Moss trying to get a first win on the board for the Ticats. There he finds Craig Geese. 17-14 Owls at the half. Third quarter, Calvillo and the Owls put it away here. Ben Cahoon, Jocko.
Yeah, this is what he does best, is take advantage of cover zero and get the ball down the field.
51-yard gain. One play later, Cahoon.
Yeah, naturally. I mean, where else are you going to go when you need a touchdown?
And the final for the Alouettes, 32-14. They are 2-0 on the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Off to another rocky start with an 0-2 start after all those changes. I hear the halftime stats for our game, brought to you by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet.
Yeah, Dave, pretty easy. You know, defenses are dominating this contest, and the Edmonton Eskimos, you know, this is how tough defenses are. They only 95 yards passing in the first half. Field position is definitely going to be a key in the second half if the Eskimos want to get back in this game.
Tom Higgins has the lead, had that successful challenge as well, and he spoke with our Jermaine Franklin.
Coach Higgins, can you talk about your defense in this first half? What did they do right to hold Edmonton off the board?
Well, you know, we usually have had some good success in mixing up what we're doing, trying not to let Ricky have a quick read on as far as our coverages are concerned. And you know what? They're flying around to the football. So, you know, we couldn't ask for any better. The only thing we'll look for is to see when we get closer, see if we can put a touchdown on the board.
Are you happy with the way the offense moved the ball? But like you just said, touchdown is pretty key.
Oh, absolutely. It's a much better game than the first week. Very few turnovers, and people are playing pretty well. So we need another good second half.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Our thanks to Tom Higgins. Yes, less turnovers, not as many points, and some dogs out at Commonwealth Stadium.
9-0 Stampeders as we move to the third quarter. But first, let's join Jermaine Franklin with the head coach of the Eskimos.
Coach Machoch, offense held scoreless in the first half. What are the adjustments you guys have to do in the second half?
Well, basically what we need to do is try to stay on a second and long, try to convert first down. For the most part, we're not taking what they're giving us, so we're showing a little bit of impatience. A lot of penalties, turnovers, so we're not playing smart right now. Hopefully that'll change the second half.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.
So Ricky Ray held to less than 100 yards passing in the opening half, and you heard the coach say, we got to take what they give us. What are they giving them?
Well, what they're giving him is a lot of underneath routes, and I think Ricky Ray's got to get back to on first down. A great play is quick screen to the wide receivers. Ed Hervey's a good choice. They ran a little swing pass to Mookie Mitchell in the backfield. He needs to get the ball to his receivers quickly, let them use their athletic ability to try and break a tackle. But if they try to force it downfield, they're playing right into the hands of the defense.
DeAngelis gets us started in the second half, and this is Tompkins from his 25, looking for a seam and finding one. Tony Tompkins tripped up by Khalid Abdullah at the 50-yard line. Well, TNT is looking dangerous tonight.
Well, that's a great return to give them good field position to begin this half. And again, we'll see what adjustments they do make. You know, Danny Machocha pays lip service to the fact that, hey, you know, let's take what they give us. And you see it pretty dismal in the first half. No production whatsoever. And, of course, that resulting in no points in the scoreboard. But, you know, Ron Lancaster Jr., he's gone down at halftime and talked to Ricky Ray and the rest of the group. And, you know, let's see how they start. And Calgary looks already like they're going to play soft and dump it underneath. Give it to your backs and receivers quickly. Like this.
Play action, and here's Mitchell. Across midfield, Daryl Mitchell brought down by Abdullah, but it's a first down and a pickup of 13 yards.
We just said, you know, that's one of the series of 4 or 5 plays that should be effective on first down. A super block on the outside by Jason Tucker. Second time, Mookie Mitchell has run this play tonight, and both times for very positive yardage, that time picking up a first down. So, a good start.
The Eskimos had so much trouble scoring that even I'm taking points away from them. Daryl Mitchell did have a touchdown reception last week, along with Bertrand. First down, Eskimos. From the pocket, Hervey with the catch in front of Reinhardt. And Ed steps out close to the 40-yard line. But we've talked about the Eskimo adjustments. It was just about a letter-perfect defensive performance by the Stampeders in the first half.
Yeah, the only time they really got aggressive was when Edmonton was in a 2nd and 4 or less situation. And in those times, they sent some linebackers, they sent defensive back, they sent Trey Young on a safety blitz. But any other time it was 2nd and long, it was very passive. And that's the exact strategy they've begun this 3rd quarter with.
Stamps wanted more pressure this week on Ray. They said they got to him for 15 hits in the season opener. Ray, and he finds a receiver over the middle, and that's his favorite target, Jason Tucker, who had 3 catches for only 17 yards in the first half.
And that time, Ricky Ray got great protection to just hang in and wait for this play to develop. It took a long time. Again, Edmonton loves going to the crossing routes. This time they used Jason Tucker, but right here, all kinds of time for Ray to step up and deliver a good strike. Takes a little heat late, but the ball was gone a long time before the pressure came.
12-yard pickup by Tucker. And the Eskimos threatening for the first time on the night. Ray rolling. And he's got Daryl Mitchell, and that ball jarred away. Cedric Williams on the corner. The rookie who stepped in when Kranz Clemens went down in the preseason, jarring the ball loose.
Well, he timed it perfectly. This is the pitch play that he really wants to hit Troy Davis with, but Abdullah, the defensive end, plays it so well. Ray in the last 2 weeks has really been forced to go downfield throwing. I mean, I talked to him before the game when they want to run that little pitch shovel pass to Troy Davis. That's the primary goal, but Calgary's done such a good job against it. They've had to develop pass patterns downfield when it's plugged up.
5-receiver package, 2nd and 10. Here comes the blitz. Ray gets it away. Tucker jumps up and pulls it down. A big catch for Jason Tucker, matched up against J.R. Ruffin.
Well, the inside receivers tonight have been making some solid efforts to go up and fight for the football. Jermaine Copeland did it for Calgary in the first half, and now Jason Tucker really desperately wants this ball. This is not a great throw. It hangs in the air forever, allows Ruffin time to close on the play, but well, what great effort to hang on to that football and keep this impressive drive going.
So a couple of first down catches in this drive for Tucker, who celebrated his 30th birthday yesterday. They stay 5 receivers. Ray with pressure, throws to Tucker, and a rare drop by the all-Canadian receiver.
Well, it's just amazing to me. You know, he goes up, exposes the rib cage on the previous play, and comes down with a beauty, and then on one that should be absolutely practice session routine kind of catch, he can't make. Boy, and all of a sudden Calgary's changed its philosophy. They've been a lot more aggressive when they get backed up towards their goal line, and you know, if I'm Ricky Ray, I'm anticipating some extra people coming and anticipating one-on-one, and this is usually when you see a Daryl Mitchell go on trying to run away from somebody.
2nd and 10. Ray rolling. Anybody home? And then he loses his footing. And he'll be down there. And who will get credit for the sack? Raheem Abdullah. One-hand touch to...
Well, again, you know, Calgary crossed Ricky Ray up. Look at the top of your screen. They just drop off. They drop off, and they're just waiting. There is nobody open. Nobody's trying to get open. I mean, the receivers are just standing there on the outside. I mean, when your quarterback's in trouble, goodness gracious, you got to try to make yourself a target. But everybody just stood around and left Ricky Ray. They hung him out to dry. Well, I'll tell you, if I'd have done that to Ron Lancaster in the old days, I wouldn't have seen a ball for a month.
So they'll attempt a 25-yard field goal, and Sean Fleming pushes that one left. That looked like me off the first tee, and it ends up
that good?
Just a single. Well, that hurts. The Eskimos had something going on that first drive of the second half, but then Jason Tucker drops one near the goal line, and they don't even come away with 3.
Well, that's tough. The first time tonight, they looked like they were really in sync, and well, not to come away with more than 3 is frustrating.
You can see Tyler Lynham stays in at right tackle for the Stampeders. Jeff Pilon left in the first half. Here's Joffrey Reynolds. And a nice shift there to get across the 45, and Reynolds has a first down.
Well, you just talked about Tyler Lynham, the right tackle, getting some playing time for Jeff Pilon, and he caved down Andre Summersell, and that opened a great hole for Reynolds to get to the outside. And once again, have a look right there. Look at the good block on Summersell to seal off to the inside. That allows Reynolds to the outside. And I suspect they talked at halftime. The Stampeders did and said, hey, it could be Reynolds' time here in the third quarter. We got to get him the football a little bit more.
8 carries, 31 yards for Joffrey Reynolds so far after 153 last week. Nice play action fake to Reynolds, and another great catch by Jermaine Copeland, who's over 100 yards for the first time since August 6th last year.
And of course, when you get the running game going, as everybody knows, Reynolds can. He's been successful in his first half, or in the first half. He's the middle guy right here, and on the play action, just working to the outside. Play action freezes the linebacker, so there's no help underneath. See the easy throw downfield, and unless Shannon Garrett can really get up in his face, he's got no help underneath. Pretty easy throw for Burris to complete, but the play action success of the running game makes that
15 yards, first down. Reynolds has a couple. Well, he has been the best offensive player on the night, Jermaine Copeland.
Yeah, and they haven't all been easy catches like that last one was. He's been really having some good battles tonight with Reggie Durden going up and fighting for the football. That time it was Garrett, the linebacker, in coverage.
We're told that Jeff Pilon is gone for the night. Groin injury. So line him in, 2nd and 8. Here comes the rush. Burris got away briefly and then is stripped of the ball. And they're ruling it's dead. Summersell heading for the end zone. But wow, the referee blew it dead.
I don't think this is a challenge situation. I think Burris's motion clearly was throwing the football downfield. But you get a freebie on the challenge, so we'll have a look right here. This is going to give you a... Well, now the arm was cocked, and no question he was trying to throw, but did the arm ever move forward enough? And maybe that is a fumble.
Mobley with the hit.
So they are going to challenge, no question about this. I mean, clearly it was Burris's intent to throw downfield, but did the ball come loose before the arm really? I mean, the follow-through was there, but I think the ball might have come loose before he actually came forward with the motion.
It's not a challengeable play, it's 3rd down.
I don't believe that is challengeable.
Well, there you go.
So Danny Machocha not able to challenge this. He ducked under Wiltshire, but there's Mobley.
I believe it's a fumble.
Burke Dales comes on to punt on 3rd down. So it remains 9-1 in favor of the Stampeders here, midway through the 3rd quarter.
Well, let's have a look at what is and what is not reviewable. And as you can see, possession rulings, passing plays, and other detectable situations. Now, I kind of think that's an other detectable situation. So we're going to try and get clarification. We've got to call in George Black, Director of Officials, and we'll clear that up because I think everybody is still trying to get their feet wet with this whole system.
Ricky Ray downfield. Jason Tucker has it as he finds room in the seam and stretches the Calgary defense. Eskimos with the ball at the Calgary 45-yard line.
Well, Ricky Ray's going to have to have been patient tonight for a long time, but this is the first time man-to-man. He's got the rookie, J.R. Ruffin, on him, and Jason Tucker, nothing fancy about that. Ricky Ray sees it and lays it out perfectly, and the Eskimos have certainly played a lot better here in this 3rd quarter, and a nice catch by Tucker.
Ray passing Our buddy back in the studio.
No, say it ain't so.
Pass attempts on the all-time Eskimo list with the longest completion of the year so far, 38 to Tucker. Ray finally has to pull this down, and he skips out close to another Eskimo first down, but suddenly the Edmonton offensive momentum is gathering.
You know, I'm just amazed, though, the Edmonton receivers, when they see Ricky Ray roll out and kind of, you know, arm ready to go, and they're just standing around. And I think when Danny Machocha takes a look at this game film, he and Ron Lancaster Jr. are going to have a chat with some of these guys, because they've really let Ricky Ray down a little bit in certain situations. That time, a few guys just, they're not trying to get open when Ricky Ray's on the run.
Just got word from Sean Coates with the league office that any incomplete pass, a ruling that was incomplete, as that was, is deemed not reviewable. Let's team down to get a close look. And so the ruling on the field was an incomplete pass. And that is why not reviewable.
And of course, you know, we're seeing it in slow motion here, but in game action, I mean, the arm, it so emphatically goes forward that I could see where you could think that. However, upon our review, I think it was a fumble.
First down, Ray Tucker wide open, touchdown, Jason Tucker. Well, we talked about great connections with Warren Moon. Finally, the great connection between Ray and Tucker is back in business.
Well, again, the victim is J.R. Ruffin, the rookie in the secondary of the Stampeders. Roll out, great vision downfield for Ray, and Jason Tucker is absolutely wide open. Mistake in the secondary, they turn him loose, and let's see how he did it. He works to the sidelines. They just kind of forget about him. And, you know, Ruffin's playing like he's expecting deep help in the zone, because he clearly was just sliding out to take the short flat area. And I think the Stampeders just had a breakdown.
38-yarder to start the drive, a 35-yard reception to complete the drive. And the Eskimos pull within one as Ricky Ray has his third touchdown pass of the season. Reminder, you can cast your vote for the Rogers Player of the Game in the fourth quarter. The Player of the Game brought to you by Rogers Wireless. Rogers brings you the 2006 FIFA World Cup video highlights on the latest MP3 phones. Jermaine Copeland was an early leader in the Player of the Game, but Jason Tucker just stepped to the forefront on that last scoring drive by the Eskimos. There's Ruffin losing his footing and getting drilled. Short return as the Eskimos are stoked after that touchdown march.
Let's go back one more time and have a look at Tucker's touchdown. And really, I think it was a breakdown in the secondary that left him so wide open. He's a guy you just, you know, normally pay attention to. And you see on the inside, he got sucked in, and I'm not sure, I can't see who it was. He's supposed to be back in this area right over here. Ruffin's pointing right now. There you see 28 saying, hey, that's not my guy. That's somebody else's guy. And Jason Tucker, who you should never leave alone, gets the touchdown.
See how Burris responds. The look-in pattern, and Elijah Thurman for the first down catch. The former Saskatchewan Rough Rider, who had 3 grabs a week ago with his first of the night.
Well, I love the timing on that quick screen, too. I mean, he was moving forward when he caught the football, and you just need a little screen on the block. You don't need a devastating block, and all of a sudden he's got an easy 10 yards and a nice first down. You know, for Henry Burris, there really hasn't been a sense of urgency for him in this game, but all of a sudden, old Mo is paying a big visit to Commonwealth Stadium, and he needs to get something going.
So he puts it in the hands of Joffrey Reynolds. Pushes the pile close to the 40, 4 for Reynolds. The 153 last week. Just to give you a perspective, last year, one 100-yard runner against the Eskimos defense, and it was Troy Davis. And Reynolds chewed up big yardage last week, and last year he was ranked number 2 behind Charles Roberts.
Yeah, those numbers, 1437 in a season, was 5th best in Calgary Stampeder history. So in a short period of time, he's made a big impact with this offense.
Edmonton 29, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Gerald Dixon. Called for objectionable conduct. Moves the ball up to the 50-yard line on the first down. Dixon at the inside linebacker spot that opened up. And Stephen Marsh was not able to come back after the ACL injury in last year's Grey Cup game. So the Stamps now better field position. Play action. Burris looking downfield. Receiver slipped. Almost picked off by Malcolm Frank. Working in coverage against Kenyon Rambo.
Well, there you see Dixon right in the middle of your screen right there, and kind of a silly penalty. I mean, you know, you take a little slap at the helmet there, and boy, when you're struggling in football games, those are the penalties that absolutely drive coaches insane.
Well, it may cost them here in the game. It will cost Gerald Dixon in the pocketbook. There's Burris under pressure downfield. Copeland jump ball knocked down by Shannon Garrett. Copeland's won a couple of those battles tonight, but not this one against the veteran Garrett.
Yeah, he has, and Shannon Garrett really did a terrific job. He trails. He's watching the eyes of Copeland. When he starts looking for the football and those eyes get big, that's when Garrett's cue to turn around and go up and fight through the receiver to the football. I mean, Henry Burris had tons of pressure coming from Andre Summersell. Once again, Summersell has been in that backfield all night long, but Copeland just couldn't come up with that. Outstanding play by Garrett.
Tompkins deep along with Daryl Mitchell. Burke Dales. And this will be Mitchell from his 17. Daryl Mitchell with a good return. Close to the 35.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Holiday Inn Hotels, the official business hotel of the CFL. With free high-speed internet in every room, the office is just a click away.
So Ricky Ray back to work after a touchdown march, keyed by a 35 and 38-yard receptions by Jason Tucker, who was #1 in pass receptions a year ago, 1,400 yards. Ray looks downfield again, and there's Daryl Mitchell, wide open. And he's down to the Calgary 45, and suddenly they're finding some holes in that Stamp defense.
Well, the Stampeders secondary really overloaded to the wide side of the field, bringing their middle safety Young up. There's Trey Young. Watch Mitchell right here come all the way across. They've overloaded to the wide side of the field, and back in there is the soft area. Ricky Ray sees it. Daryl Mitchell felt it. He got in the right spot, and all of a sudden, Denny Crehan's defense is giving up some awfully big plays that they sure didn't do in the first half.
30 yards there. So the third 30-yard play or more in the second half. Bertram, who scored a touchdown last week on a similar play, is inside the 40. Good first down production there.
Well, Ricky Ray always good at spreading the football around. There you see 6 receivers have touched the football tonight.
And you can add Bertrand on that last play.
Very good. We'll throw him in there. And you know, that's a great, it's not a lot of yardage. They pick up 8 yards, but you know what? The safety blitz coming, dump it off to your fullback. I mean, that's just well executed offense.
Jason Tucker with 109 yards in the second half alone. In the third quarter, Ray with pressure, dumps it off. Troy Davis nailed Brian Clark there. Helmet to helmet with Troy Davis. And the Eskimo drive stalls.
Well, and Brian Clark, here he is right in the middle. You watch, he's got Davis, so when the blitz is coming, watch, he slides out right now. He's eyeing him, boom, he makes the catch and makes the hit. He had him in man-to-man coverage on the blitz, and you can't play linebacker any better, any tougher than Brian Clark did right there.
Clark, a 9-year veteran, playing his 122nd game. And what an addition to the 3-4 defense of Calgary.
Yeah, he's smart. I mean, he had a nice interception last week, probably should have had 2. He just, play after play, week after week, makes a lot of smart plays.
Sean Fleming will attempt a 48-yarder. Jason Johnson, his new holder. And again, this one wide to the left. And Ruffin's going to bring it out. J.R. Ruffin across the 20 and cut down there by Bertrand. So it remains a 1-point Stamp lead. Less than a minute and a half remaining, 3rd quarter. Kenyon Rambo, Malcolm Frank in on the tackle as Rambo is stopped at the 28. Gain of 7 for the Calgary wideout, who was, as a high schooler, rated the top receiver in high school football in the United States. The last week it was sloppy at times. It's been a much better football game from the perspective of holding on to the ball tonight. Reynolds second and short, and they convert. And in the break, you mentioned the Eskimos had what, 2nd and 3? Check that. Wes Cates, the ball carrier, the newcomer. Eskimos had 2nd and 3, and they didn't give the ball to Troy Davis.
Well, they threw the football on 2nd and 3, and the way Danny Machocha has been gambling on 3rd down, I mean, to me, you got pretty near 2 cracks to get that. And, you know, who could ever argue against Ricky Ray throwing the football? His percentages are always so high, but I just kind of think that the play selection tonight's been a little off.
Now Reynolds has the ball, tries the left side, and he's driven back. The safety, Kelly Wiltshire, was there. Joffrey Reynolds, we mentioned, 153 last week.
Well, you know, week after week, when you have 153 against a pretty good run defense, I think it's awfully tough to come back the next week and repeat that kind of performance. I mean, the guys on the other side have a little bit of pride, too, and I don't think all week they haven't said, hey, this guy's not getting any 153 again tonight on us. And they played him a lot tougher than they did in Calgary.
53, his longest last week. He's been held 12, his best on the night. 7-8. What could be the last play of the 3rd quarter. Flag down. And so is Thurman right at the line of scrimmage. So we'll sort out the flag before we put an end to the 3rd quarter.
Holding, Calgary 66, penalties declined, it's 3rd down.
Alex Gauthier, the culprit, but the Eskimos declined the penalty. That is the final play of the 3rd quarter. 1-point game in Edmonton. Win. 3rd quarter stats brought to you by Rona, proud league-wide sponsor of the CFL.
Well, you can see the Edmonton Eskimos, a nice comeback in the 3rd quarter, and those passing yards, 247. Much more Ricky Ray-ish than the first half. Really what's holding them back is in the field goal department. Sandro DeAngelis, perfect on the night, and my pal Sean Fleming struggling at this stage. Maybe a bad hold on one, but the last one he had a good hold, so he's got to pick it up.
Eskimos do have the only major score. You see the stats even, but it was really Calgary lopsided in the first half, and you can feel that this game has changed, but still a 4th quarter to go.
Well, we got a good 4th quarter. I don't think it's materialized the way we thought, only 9-8 after 3 quarters, but Edmonton sure has shown us enough in the 3rd quarter, and I know that Henry Burris and his offense still has a little bit left in the tank, and I expect some serious fireworks with 15 minutes remaining.
Burke Dales punting it away. And Tompkins inside his 25. Johnny Tompkins can't find a seam through the Stamp wave. And of course, Calgary won it last week with 2 4th quarter touchdowns. 2 in the final 5 minutes. The Eskimos will take possession at their 21-yard line. But finally, Ricky Ray has found some cracks, and I think most importantly, he has been able to stretch this Calgary defense in the third quarter.
Well, I think the graphic there tells you all you need to know, that he's almost doubled his production in one quarter of play over the first two. And Calgary's helped him out a little bit with some mistakes in the secondary, which has kept this game close.
Daryl Mitchell. Another big play up to the 45-yard line. 24 from Ricky Ray to Daryl Mitchell to start this first drive of the fourth quarter.
And you know, Edmonton's done a good job at looking at the game film from a week ago. Calgary likes to try to overload to the wide side of the field with their secondary. They like to put an extra guy in the middle over the top, and when that occurs, you just drag a guy back against that to the weak side, and he should be open. And that's the second ball Daryl Mitchell has caught back against that overloaded to the field defensive formation for Calgary.
Ricky Ray with 291 passing yards. And he has a completion here. Coming back to the ball was the newcomer Alston. And a gain of 5 at the 50.
Well, he made his break around 12, 14 yards, but he worked back so diligently to the quarterback that by the time he did make that catch, he only picked up about 5 yards. But of course, like any new receiver, you know, the expectations are very high. Alston, great speed, great hands, all the package. We'll see if he can get it done under game conditions.
Haven't seen it yet, but they talk about his ability to run with the ball after he gets it. The yak yards.
Well, we've seen a few come into this league with lots of expectation.
2nd and 5. Ray in the flat, incomplete. Great close there by Jermaine Chapman. The intended receiver was Jason Tucker.
Well, this is a terrific effort by Jermaine Chapman. I believe the Eskimos, not that they would ever admit it, are running a little bit of pick here to the outside, and Chapman rubs right through it and gets his hand in on Jason Tucker. And you know, that's desire, because you feel it as a defensive back. You know they're trying to rub, pick you, and make you go a long way to make the play, but Chapman did it superbly.
So Fleming the punt. And that one off the side of his foot, and it goes out of bounds, and they're going to mark this one well, beyond the 35. There is a flag, and they're going to spot this at the 38-yard line. But let's find out what the infraction was against Edmonton, and that will be declined.
Illegal procedure, Edmonton, no eligible end. Penalty is declined. It's first down, Calgary.
Declined because the punt from Sean Fleming, just 22 yards. Calgary football when we come back. (9-8). Calgary with the lead. It was 9-0. Ricky Ray to Jason Tucker for a touchdown here in this second half. And Stampeders go back to work from their 39-yard line. Henry Burris in the second half, 3 of 6 for 35 yards. There's Reynolds, big gain, his biggest of the night, all the way down to the Edmonton 45-yard line.
Wow, and the explosive nature of a Joffrey Reynolds was no more evident than on that play. On those quick hitters, I mean, watch how fast he is into the line of scrimmage and through. I mean, boom, right here, he is now in high gear when he sees that crack in that opening, and that's just a beautiful thing to watch, how he can accelerate so quickly when he sees that crack.
25-yard gallop. And a first down. Burris now looking for Copeland. He's got him. Back-to-back first downs for the Stampeders. And remember the fourth quarter heroics last Saturday.
Well, in a minute and a half, a couple of touchdowns. This on a third down gamble, 3rd and 10, and Tom Higgins elected to go for it, and that was Nick Lewis with the catch. And then a couple of moments later, Jermaine Copeland fighting inside for his touchdown. In the space of a minute and 30, they went from a 14-10 deficit to a 24-14 lead.
12-yard pickup for Copeland. Another Calgary first down. Burris steps up. And that ball into the offensive line. Henry Burris, that time the throwing motion looked clear, and again he was jarred as he let go of the ball, and they are ruling it incomplete.
I'm afraid to call anything right now. That sure looked like a forward pass to me. Go back and have one more look. You'd be the judge. Clearly he was trying to get downfield with this. Oh, yeah.
And there was Andre Summersell ready to lower the boom. And also in on the play was Robert Brown, who had a sack last week in his return to the Edmonton Eskimos after 4 years with the Alouettes. 2nd and 10. Burris up top. And Nick Lewis, who has been very quiet tonight, couldn't find that ball. It sailed incomplete.
That's funny, Chris. Nick Lewis has been pretty quiet tonight. He gets one-on-one with Shannon Garrett. Now watch as he moves to the corner. A little bump right there and a hold, and that just threw Lewis off so much. I mean, that was the right play, the right call. The safety blitz was coming. That's where you go to the corner, and I think Shannon Garrett kind of got away with one there.
Remember Nick Lewis last year said he was going to run Garrett into retirement, and
I can't believe it.
Backed it up with a huge game, 145 yards. Here's DeAngelis, and DeAngelis good again from 42 yards out. And he has 4 field goals on the night. Sandro DeAngelis, perfect tonight, 4 for 4. And different kind of celebration. I don't know.
Only a kicker could do that kind of sell. I'm not sure I like that one.
He's going to get some radio time with Chevry and Napashchuk, who apparently have done a little choreography. Well, his foot has been the difference.
I don't think they worked on it for long.
No. I don't think Jermaine Copeland wants any part of it.
No.
Here's Tony Tompkins. And ducked under and finds a little room out across the 30-yard line before he's tracked down by Wes Cates, who's made a couple of special team tackles tonight. Racing fans, tune in tomorrow. Formula One Canadian Grand Prix from Montreal. Coverage begins at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific on TSN.
Well, boy, not a bad day tomorrow. Grand Prix, we got the Queen's Plate, and then you're in Saskatchewan with the BC Lions at 7 Eastern. Wow.
Busy night. There's the ledge in the Alberta capital. We're in Edmonton, Alberta, where over 40,000 are on hand for the Eskimos season opener. And Edmonton trying to cut into a 4-point Calgary lead as Troy Davis gets outside. And Davis tackled by Khalid Abdullah as he crossed the 35-yard line.
Well, and I'm a little surprised in a game that's this close that Troy Davis has not been featured more. I mean, it's not like they've even tried to establish him. And I know Ricky Ray loves to throw the football, and, you know, obviously he's very good at it. But, I mean, when you got a guy like Troy Davis, 4 times in 5 years over 1,000 yards, NCAA record, 2 times 2,000, I mean, he's got to touch the football, and I just think they haven't worked very hard at getting it in his hands tonight. Only 4 carries so far.
2nd and 5. Ball rolling, and another wide open receiver, and that's Alston. And he'll lug it over midfield to the Calgary 54.
That's the 2nd time Richard Alston has caught a curl pattern or hook pattern, if you will. And the impressive part with his technique is how he works back to the quarterback. You know, he has that initial separation, but watch, he keeps coming back, and makes himself a very easy target for Ricky Ray to find.
Again, Trevor Gaylor not in the lineup this week. 2 catches, 20 yards last week. And Danny Machocha sat him down. He said he'd been inconsistent. Ricky Ray over 300 for the 2nd straight week in 2006. And Bertrand out of the backfield. The big fullback hurdling down to the 36-yard line. And this is more like the Grey Cup offense here in the 2nd half.
Well, Ricky Ray and I talked about this before the game. Ideally, they want to throw the shovel pass to Troy Davis right here. But what happens is they can't get to him, so they go next to Bertrand, who comes out here. That's the progression of this play. If they can't hit the shovel, they've got a guy in the flat, and they've got a guy coming from the backside on the crossing route. And that's what Ricky Ray says. If I can't get the shovel to Troy, I'm looking to the flat right away. Nicely executed.
Team to the big fullback, and now in Hervey. Oh, heavy traffic. And he's brought down hard by Scott Coe. No gain for Hervey.
The first time I think you and I have mentioned Scott Coe tonight, and he's usually in the thick of all kinds of things out there.
He had a 10-tackle game here in Edmonton in his last visit. 5 tackles a week ago, but you're right, hasn't made as much noise tonight. Halfway through the 4th quarter. 2nd and 8. Ray steps up, looks deep, looks for Tucker. Touchdown. Flags down, but it won't matter. Jason Tucker has the go-ahead touchdown for Edmonton. Well, it has been Ricky Ray and Jason Tucker in this second half.
Well, once again, he just outruns the coverage, and Kobe Reinhardt cannot stay with him deep down the sidelines. And boy, does he have a desire and a nose for the football. I mean, he literally takes it away. Reinhardt's going to get called for face masking. It doesn't matter, but Tucker with unbelievable concentration. Well, you talk about a game-breaking receiver in this league. I know we love Milt Stiegel, and there's a lot of great ones, but I don't think there's any better at crunch time than a Jason Tucker.
Huge second half. Tucker had 11 touchdowns last year. We're going to wait for the smoke to clear after the touchdown celebration. And 2 in the second half for Tucker tonight. Fleming to add the extra point, and the Eskimos enjoyed their first lead of the evening. With 7:09 to go in the 4th quarter, the Eskimos have the lead. Jason Tucker blew out the birthday candles yesterday, his 30th, and he's lit up the Calgary Stampeders defense here in the second half tonight.
And the Stampeders playing a cover 2 where the linebacker tries to play the inside receiver tough and tight, expecting help over the top. That defense is designed to take away the long pass, and Kobe Reinhardt got stuck inside, and he didn't help out his linebacker. When you put Scott Coe on Jason Tucker, you better have help over the top, and it never came. A couple of big mistakes for the Stampeders secondary in this second half.
And the face mask penalty had that kickoff from up near midfield, and now Calgary's in a hole after Sherrod Coates covers the kick. 7:05 remaining, and a 3-point deficit that Henry Burris is facing.
You know, it's funny, Denny Crehan's thrown a lot of different looks at Ricky Ray tonight, and I think the cover 2 defense, where you have 2 safeties over the top helping and you play all the receivers really tight, is a great defense. But if you don't give that guy the help over the top, it's a terrible defense to be in, and Scott Coe paid the price because he had no help.
First down at the Stamp 17. Burris with a lot of time to look downfield and overthrows Kenyon Rambo. Well, a reminder that Purolator sack total is being tallied. Brought to you by Purolator, where business is going. And of course, donations made to food banks across the country. And the Bombers putting up some big numbers last night.
Schultz, still driving that Purolator truck around.
He's doing a nice job.
Yeah.
Not sure how an offensive lineman is the spokesman for sacks.
I know. I've never quite figured that one out,
but he does a great job, and it is a terrific program. 2nd and 10. There's a pump and a go. Looking for Elijah Thurman, and it's picked off. Keo Craver has the interception for Edmonton.
Why, Chris, that's the difference in the two defenses right now. When Calgary tries to go over the top, Craver had help. He had help trying to cover against Thurman, and there's Reggie Durden from the inside helping, and Carver knows that, so he can be aggressive to the football, and well, that's a great interception. I mean, just disastrous for the Stampeders. Edmonton following up a Tucker touchdown with a pick by Craver.
Second interception tossed by Burris this season. Here's Mike Power. The Eskimos Canadian fullbacks, and he's down to the 39. Maurer shuttled in and out along with Matt Bertram. And the Eskimos offense is finally hitting on all cylinders.
And you should see the block that Mookie Mitchell made for Mike Maurer to really get some extra yardage. I mean, Mitchell's had a good night receiving the football, and here he is right there, and this is no contest. The defensive back going for the football, and here's an ear hole job right there. My, oh my.
Is that Chapman?
I think it was on Khalid Abdullah, the outside
Abdullah,
linebacker.
and he is going slow to get up. You're right. Abdullah just getting to his feet now after a welcome from Daryl Mitchell to the CFL.
You know, after 10 years in this league, Daryl Mitchell still doing all the little things so well to try and help his team win football games. Made some good catches on swing passes tonight and crossing patterns, and now a terrific crunching block to allow Mike Maurer extra yardage.
Ricky Ray racking up the stats here in the second half. Pass, and Troy Davis bounced off first contact. Flags fly as Davis gets to the 26-yard line.
Here's what Ricky Ray's looking at on the shovel pass. He's hoping that the defensive end comes upfield. Stop it right there. See, he's upfield here. The shovel pass comes right there, and now that works. If the defensive end stays back, he throws downfield to the flat.
Roughing call against Raheem Abdullah, and the Eskimos get even deeper into the score zone.
Well, I think he's a little ticked off because he has played that shovel pass really well these last 2 weeks, and normally he plays it kind of soft, forcing Ricky Ray to go downfield with the football, not allowing that shovel pass to Troy Davis. But that time he said, heck with it, I'm going to go get my shot, and he got it and got called for it.
How about that 307 yards in this second half in 25 minutes of football?
Well, we talked about adjustments and which ones would they make. The biggest adjustments were the mistakes that the Stampeders have made in the secondary.
First down, Eskimos. The ball at the 11. Wide open. Maurer crashing down to the 4-yard line. Met by Kobe Reinhardt.
Well, Edmonton's blessed with two really punishing fullbacks in Mathieu Bertrand and Mike Maurer. Mike Maurer with some good work with the Ottawa Renegades for the last couple of years. I mean, he is a tough customer. You know about his maximum fighting exploits. I mean, he's a guy you don't want to meet in an alley after a game.
I still don't believe Maurer got up from that hit last week when Reinhardt really stuck him. Maurer with a couple of catches on this drive, and there have been 8 different Edmonton receivers. An Eskimo first down. Let's take another look at the hit from a week ago.
Well, I think that's just a tribute to the excellent physical condition that Mike Maurer has himself in. I mean, not many guys bounce up from that one, but, you know, he took a real whack, and he just got up and kept going, and that guy's a finely tuned athlete.
First down, Eskimos. The ball at the 3-yard line. Troy Davis met behind the line of scrimmage and dropped for a 2-yard loss at the 5. as John Grace filled the hole in a hurry.
Scott Coe really got upfield quickly to turn it back to the inside, and Scott Coe really made the play on the outside to force this back. And then, of course, John Gray, there's Coe right up here. Watch how he forces. He does not let Davis get to the outside. Right here, force him back, and who's waiting for him? Old number 7.
John Grace with 9 tackles last week, matching Michael O'Shea for opening week high. And Ricky Ray over 400 yards on the night. 2nd and goal from the 5. And Ray looks in the end zone wide open. Jason Tucker is out of bounds. He did not get a foot down. Otherwise, that was touchdown number 3.
And yet again, another mistake in the secondary. I mean, how in the world on goal line do you leave Tucker alone like that? And pretty easy call as the official right on the spot, and no way. But again, another mistake with Tucker. Tucker of all people.
You know, this reminds me of the
I'll
game.
make a mistake on Andrew Nowacki, but I won't make a mistake on Tucker down near the goal line.
Reminds me of a game here last year when Montreal played a rookie DB against him, Takeem Muhammad, who played just 1 game, and Tucker lit him up for over 200 yards. And J.R. Ruffin did a nice job in his CFL debut last week against Tucker, but they have not had an answer for Jason Tucker in this second half. There's Fleming, and Fleming does put it through. Boy, that was close.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the CFL. Do Wendy's, do what tastes right. By Rona, proud league-wide sponsor of the CFL. And by Rogers Wireless. Rogers brings you 2006 FIFA World Cup video highlights on the latest MP3 phones.
Henry Burris last week in the final 5 minutes generated 2 touchdown marches for the Stampeders. He'll need at least 1 here in the final 3 minutes and 12 seconds tonight. As you can see, the crowd of 40,491 at Commonwealth Stadium, and the next home game they will go over 9 million Eskimo fans in the history of this beautiful football stadium. And Ruffin sent airborne, and he sails across the 35-yard line. 3:08 on the clock.
Well, and this game has been such a case of 2 different halves. All Stampeders in the first half, 9-0, and then of course Edmonton coming back with a brilliant second half. But the good news for Tom Higgins is you're only down by 6 with a little over 3 minutes remaining, so no time to panic.
I was going to say, as much as that was blown coverage on the last play to Jason Tucker, the Eskimos didn't capitalize on a great chance to get another major, and it keeps Calgary within a major score of regaining the lead. Reynolds trying to get outside. Forced out at the 42-yard line. Summersell in on the play defensively. 3-minute warning given to the benches at Commonwealth. A reminder that World Cup coverage continues on TSN. The big games tomorrow: England, Ecuador, and Portugal and the Netherlands. And check tsn.ca for the upcoming schedule as they get into the final 16. Here, 2:38 clock running. 18-12, Edmonton with the lead. And Henry Burris finds Jermaine Copeland for a first down at the Calgary 50-yard line.
Well, I think Henry Burris right now is pretty calm, cool customer, and I know they haven't had a great second half, but I think he's thinking you got 2:29 remaining. Just got a nice first down, almost at midfield. You know, why don't I just do a nice, great, methodical drive? Steve Barato, of course, the offensive coordinator, helping him out with play selection, but let's just burn some clock, methodically take it down, and we got a nice chance to steal one tonight with a touchdown and a win.
Tale of 2 halves for Henry Burris tonight. Trying to enhance those second half numbers. Quarterback draw. And Burris over midfield. And to the Edmonton 50, about a yard short, Gerald Dixon with the tackle for the Eskimos. That sets up 2nd and 1, and a nice situation for Henry Burris.
Well, you got to love the call, quarterback draw. They haven't run that play at all tonight, and Edmonton's obviously thinking fast pass, get those linemen upfield, turn out the blocks, and lots of room for Burris to get 9 yards. And you know, if he feels like taking a shot here, he certainly could.
See what Steve Barato calls on 2nd. Actually about a yard and a half. So a 3rd down gamble. Ricky Dicey keeks the ball carrier. And I'm not sure.
He's getting a pretty good spot.
Had to get not only across the 50, but almost to the 49. And they're going to mark it just over the 50. And we're going to get a measurement as the Eskimo defense coordinator, Rick Campbell, I don't think was too happy with that spot.
No, I think it was pretty generous, but I still think he's going to come up with my terrible old eyesight here a little bit short. So they will obviously, if it is, have to gamble here.
There it is, about a foot.
Oh, the game is on the line right here.
3rd down for Steve Barato's offense. Godfrey Ellis, Jay McNeil, Taylor Robertson dig in, surge forward, and Henry Burris has a 1st down.
Well, now he has to be conscious of the clock, though. I mean, 1:49, they really can't waste a lot of time here. They got 49 yards to go. They've got to score a touchdown, and they will be playing 3-down football.
Well, they're going to measure, but the spot appears to be inside the 49, and from our vantage point, it looks like they've got it by a couple of feet. But they're going to make sure with 1:49 on the clock, and Burris might get some time to call a couple of plays in the huddle. Well, at least a foot.
Wow, good surge on the offensive line for the Calgary Stampeders, and Henry Burris just tucks himself underneath. Nice effort by Charbonneau over the top, though, and if you ever hit that helmet to helmet, you got a chance, but Burris ducked underneath.
Beef in the pits. That play doesn't get off. Some early movement.
Taylor Robertson, the right guard, they, had 4 receivers wide side of the field, and they wanted to run a pitch back to the weak side. Pretty good call, but Taylor Robertson was the guy pulling on the outside, and he just got a little edgy and jumped early.
Illegal procedure. Calgary number 65, 5-yard penalty. Repeat 1st down.
The Brantford native, who was the lineman of the week last week.
There he is right there. See that? Half a count. And crunch time, that's not a good penalty.
1st and 15. Five receiver set. Burris to the sidelines for Copeland, and Reggie Durden in his back pocket.
Well, Reggie Durden's had some great battles with Copeland tonight, and they've had a little chatter going all evening as well, but that time he really hung on the hip of Copeland, and he's telling him all about it.
And there is a weapon that has not been utilized tonight. Tom Higgins told him to keep quiet after last week ripping Ed Hervey. Maybe he's better when he's making noise. 2nd and 15. Burris steps up, unloads underneath with a flag. And old Gibbs, I believe, with the catch, and will sort out the penalty. It is Gibbs, the receiver. And an injured Edmonton Eskimo, Andre Summersell, who again had a sprained ankle in camp. And let's see if he's tweaked that. So Summersell gets attention while the officials confer on the penalty, and the Eskimos indicating.
Holding, Calgary 58, penalties declined, 3rd down.
Tyler Lynham called for holding, and now Tom Higgins looking at a 3rd down with 1:23 left here in the 4th quarter.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet, and by General Motors of Canada and all its divisions.
Reminder that coming up, Sports Center, Jay Onright and Holly Horton will have all the news of the day. It's been a busy day. Of course, the NHL draft and some wheeling and dealing at the NHL draft in Vancouver. Jay and Holly will have all the details for you, and more on tonight's game here. The Battle of Alberta renewed. The Eskimos trying to even their record at 1-1 and move back into a tie with Tom Higgins' Calgary Stampeders. Stamps though with time as Summersell jogs off. Stamps still with some time to go 2-0.
You know, it's interesting. Edmonton refused that penalty. It was 2nd and 15. It would have been 2nd and 25, but they choose to play against 3rd and 8.
3rd and 8, here we go. Remember 3rd and 10 last week. Burris wide open is Copeland. He's got it at the 5. Jermaine Copeland all alone. And the Stampeders will have 1st and goal at the Edmonton 5. 43 yards, Burris to Copeland.
Boy, and how in the world did they turn him loose? I mean, this has been a game of errors in the second half. You know, you're at the most crucial time of the game, and 3rd down gamble, you let Copeland, probably the most dangerous receiver that Calgary has, you turn him wide loose. I mean, the only thing in doubt was Burris going to overthrow him.
Well, he's had just as good a night as Tucker, but for the touchdowns, here's Burris into the end zone, and it's picked off. Shannon Garrett with the interception. The 2nd interception in the 4th quarter, and a mix-up between Burris and Kenyon Rambo, and Shannon Garrett comes up with the ball.
Well, he had Rambo wide open in the end zone, and we'll see if we can get a look to the right of your screen. Burris, watch this. He's coming back. There's Rambo right there. He doesn't stop, I guess, and Burris throws it behind him, and look, sitting on his keister, who makes a huge interception. My, oh my, there have been some strange things in this second half of football. A lot of blown coverages, and that time looked like.
And the temperature rising on the Calgary bench. Now the Eskimos will try and kill the clock. 47 seconds remaining, and Davis picks his way to the 30-yard line, and Danny McManus, the veteran, in there to get between Rambo and Burris.
You know, tough to tell in the end zone. You know, he was coming to the inside. Burris is going against the grain and threw it to a spot where he thought he should be.
Stampeders calling a timeout as Edmonton looks at 2nd and 5, and Burris getting out of there and somehow refocusing in case they get the ball back. Well, last week we saw Burris perform magic, and this week, when it looked like they had it in their hands, they've let it slip away.
I mean, that one play to Copeland, now you're thinking, hey, this is our game, and all of a sudden, you know, for them, disaster. But for Shannon Garrett, and Shannon Garrett's made some big plays in the second half, and that interception was enormous.
Davis, and he'll be stopped short of the 1st down. Davis looks like he got 4. Had to get to the 35. And Calgary may get the ball back one last time.
Well, have a look to the right of your screen, and maybe at this point in time, just in a second, you freeze it. Now, Rambo he's going this way. And Burris is throwing the ball to that spot right there. And, you know, no one will know until after the game and each player is interviewed as, you know, did I drift in too far? Should I stayed out there? And, you know, it's easy to say Burris threw it to the wrong spot, but again, we don't know if it was designed for Rambo to keep working to the inside.
Eskimos letting the clock run down. And with 16 seconds to go, a time count violation against Edmonton. And the punt unit will come on.
Chris, I think, you know, we kind of recapped this whole game, but not really what we expected. I mean, I expected much more of a free-flowing game with more points than 18-12 and not nearly the mistakes.
I think what we expected was a lot of what we've seen in the fourth quarter, but for still, well, can you blame it on early season errors?
I don't know.
Is that too easy in week 2?
I think that's too easy.
Because
defensively,
clearly the Eskimos have hit their stride in the second half. And the Stampeders have had their moments, but they just have not capitalized. 18-12, 17 seconds left. And Tony Tompkins is back, and it looks like they're going to run around in the end zone and try and kill the clock and maybe give up 2 points. So Tony Tompkins racing back, trying to chew up some time, and stepping out with 11 seconds to go. And now it's 18-14, so a field goal not enough to get Calgary on even terms. Will have a kickoff with 11 seconds to go, or just take the ball at the 35 and one last Hail Mary.
That's a tough call. You know, if they had like a real super duper return guy like a Tony Tompkins, you might say let's try to put it in his hands. But then on the other hand, you know, your greatest weapons are Nick Lewis and Jermaine Copeland. Maybe you got to try to get the ball in their hands.
Well, Ricky Ray in the second half, we talked about the fact they weren't able to stretch Calgary's defense, but he had completions of 38, 2 35-yard touchdown passes, and another 30-yard completion. We talked about that new CFL promotion, Make the Connection. Well, we saw Ray and Tucker back in business. We have seen one of the best nights Henry Burris and Jermaine Copeland have had together. But for Calgary, apparently not enough unless Henry Burris has one last gasp.
And this really isn't much of a prevent defense that Edmonton's got out there. I mean, they're playing it pretty tight.
6 receivers out, and Burris under the gun just gets rid of it to avoid the sack. Sherrod Coates, one of the Eskimos, putting on the heat. 7 seconds to go.
Well, that's a great win for Danny Machocha, but, you know, saw Tom Higgins just a short second ago, and boy, this is one that's going to eat him and this team because, you know, this was well within their grasp. They played a pretty mediocre second half, to say the least, but they had what all you asked for is they had a chance at the end to pull it out, and they just didn't do it.
Tom Higgins Stamps will meet Hamilton next week. Danny Machocha's Eskimos head to Winnipeg to meet that revved up defense. Here's Burris, steps up and unloads deep. Jump ball and off the fingertips of Kenyon Rambo. And Danny Machocha celebrates with his father his first victory of 2006. Eskimos prevail 18-14, and the Alberta Rivals split their first 2 meetings of 2006.
Time now for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by the 2007 Chevy Avalanche. Just when it looked like Calgary was going to go ahead, no! Shannon Garrett with the interception in the end zone. Never a good thing when you're the offensive team and the game is on the line. Miscommunication, and it ends up in the hands of the Eskimos. And a cash donation will be made to the Coaching Association for the training and development of Canadian coaches on behalf of TSN and the 2007 Chevy Avalanche, the most flexible vehicle out there. We're back on the air tomorrow with one more game as we wrap up week number 2 in the CFL, and it's another rematch from week number 1. The BC Lions hammered Saskatchewan last week. The Riders will be looking for revenge. That's tomorrow on TSN. We're on the air at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and that is available in TSN HD. The next edition of the TSN Sports Center comes your way at 11 p.m. Pacific Time, 2 a.m. Eastern, with Jay Onrates and Holly Horton. As for the player of the game, that is Edmonton wide receiver Jason Tucker with 152 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns on his birthday. Could have had 3. He stepped out of bounds, but a big night for he and the Eskimos nonetheless. Tucker is your player of the game, brought to you by Rogers Wireless. On behalf of Chris and Matt and Jock and the boys in the booth in Edmonton and our entire crew, this is Dave Randolph saying thanks for watching. You are watching TSN, Canada's sports leader.